better team if we came up and represented ourselves.
Good morning, Sac City. Welcome in to another edition of the Sac City Podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined as always by my best friend in the whole entire world. He is Aaron, the Muxiah Mukes. It is a beautiful September 26th morning here in the city. Episode 89 is about to kick off. We are recapping all things week 3 NFL action, including a big win from my Jacksonville Jaguars and a lot of other fun things. Aaron, how was your Sunday of football watching?
It was great. This week I actually got to sit down and just watch the games and educate some people and, argue with some people. And I always love doing that. You know how much I like to argue. So most of it was with you and Dylan and AJ, and of course, some people on my Facebook timeline, but it's all in fun, and I'm gonna break it all down today, so I'm excited for that.
Yep. So the way we do things here in the city is we, for our audio listeners, we got a week 3 recap. We're talking winners, losers, and what our big takeaways are from week 3. And then after, and for our YouTube viewers, we go game by game by game, recapping and talking about all the things that happened in your team's game. We've got that. Is
that a thing, audio listeners? That's a thing? We do that?
AJ has audio listeners.
Oh, okay. Well, hi, audio listeners. Hi, audio listeners. I never met you, but hi.
If you're listening to us on an audio platform, please continue. And write us a review. Tell us what you think of the show. If you are an audio listener, if you are a frequent audio listener, please write us a review. Let us know that you are a frequent audio listener. We will actually
stop. If you're a frequent audio listener, stop missing out. You're missing out on so much quality by just switching over to YouTube. It's not that hard. You just go to youtube.com, type in Sac City Pod, and you find us, and you hit the subscribe button, and you follow, and you watch the show. And I promise you, the show visually is more appealing than my voice. I'm sorry. I don't have a great voice. I don't sing. I'm not talented enough to do that. All I can do in this life is talk football. So take advantage of that and also see the visual side of what we're bringing you. So go over to YouTube and subscribe.
There it is. What a promo. What a promo for our YouTube. Let's get into our morning headlines.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's finally over. It is finally over. The NFL ends the Pro Bowl. They put an end to the Pro Bowl. It was announced actually this morning, I believe, that the NFL will be getting rid of the Pro Bowl, and they will be bringing in a skills competition and a flag football game, a week full of skills competitions and a flag football game that replaces the Pro Bowl in Vegas, and it'll be before the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning will lead the charge and be conducting everything. Pro Bowl dates back to 1951, so this will be the start of a new regime, start of a new era in football where fans will, of course, still assist in the voting process. That's not going anywhere, but it'll be more of a skills competition and a flag football game. So, Aaron, I do have a question about this. Do you think that we're now going to be entering an era where if you have a Pro Bowl on your list, it does not matter?
I think we were already in that era,
okay.
At least from my perspective. I'm not a big Pro Bowl guy. Like, you make the Pro Bowl, you don't make the Pro Bowl. Part of the reason, it's a good honor, but part of the reason why I'm not, number one, I hate fans. I hate fans. So I hate fans the way they vote because it's a popularity contest. I don't like that when somebody's playing in the Super Bowl or slightly banged up, they're not in it, so you bring somebody else in it. They get a Pro Bowl attributed to their resume, and maybe they were the 5th, 6th, 7th best quarterback in that conference, but because these guys declined to play, they get invited and they get a Pro Bowl on their resume. So let's be honest. Pro Bowls do not matter. It's nice to say, hey, I'm a 6-time Pro Bowler. Cool. Congratulations. I don't care.
You think players will want to do this more, like be more inclined to do this?
I do. And I really, really like the idea. And I wanted to say two things about this. Obviously, don't want to spend a lot of time on the Pro Bowl, but I love the skills competition. I think that is something that, number one, we have to think about this as entertainment. This particular event is supposed to entertain. If you look at all the other All-Star games or events, the NBA All-Star game, they have competitions and it's entertainment. And that's exactly what the NFL was lacking, was from the Pro Bowl, was the entertainment factor of it. So last year you saw a little bit of it with all the different skills competitions and the races, and that was pretty cool, and everybody got involved in that. So if you do it right, you can get people entertained, and it's an enjoyment to watch. And I think that's all that really matters. And I actually love the flag football idea. That's what the game was anyways.
I am all for, honestly, and could be the last thing we move on here. I am all for this change to the Pro Bowl, whether it ends up being good or bad. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people that come out and complain about it, and there's still going to be the haters of it. There always is, but I want to give credit to the NFL for actually making that change, for making that move. Like we are in a time period where everyone is just complaining and shredding every All-Star game, whether it's the MLB All-Star game, the Pro Bowl, the NHL, NBA All-Star games. Those games, every All-Star game gets shredded. I feel like this is the first league that has taken a massive step into attempting to improve their festivities, their All-Star game, their Pro Bowl. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it. I'll definitely be tuning in when this kicks off. So in other news, the NFL will be reviewing the quick return of Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. He went down in that game to a concussion right before halftime. It was a nasty injury, a nasty concussion. It would look like he was wobbling, he was bumbling and stumbling. It did not look good for the Dolphins quarterback, but the second half came around and he came right back in. The NFLPA is pushing for a look at the concussion protocols put in place by teams to avoid these situations where a quarterback looks like this and then comes back in the game, and some shady stuff going on with that. But the NFL will be reviewing that to make sure that all the concussion protocols were passed for Tua to return back in the game. In other news, Dennis Allen of the New Orleans Saints head coach is actually backing Jameis Winston after his struggles recently. Obviously, he had that one good half against the Atlanta Falcons where they were able to come back and get the victory. Other than that, it's been a very lackluster performance from Jameis Winston. But his head coach, Dennis Allen, fully backs him, fully trusts him. And I feel like that's exactly what you need in your coach, to back your quarterback and give you that confidence and give you that faith moving forward. And last but certainly not least, Lamar, pay the damn man. I know, obviously, you might not get a deal this season because it's over, but pay the damn man. Lamar Jackson is off to a historic start in 2022. He is the first player in NFL history with 10-plus passing touchdowns and 200-plus rushing yards in the first 3 games of the season. The only other player to do that over any 3-game span is also Lamar Jackson in 2019 in his MVP season. And it's funny because this season, he's like surpassing all of his stats and his pace for what he did in that MVP season. It's like he's dominating the game, and his name is like, you have to consider him now with the MVP conversation. He has been phenomenal to start the season. We're going to talk more Lamar Jackson. We're going to talk more Saints. We're going to talk more Dolphins in a few when we recap those games. But Aaron, it's now your time to shine. Let's get in to the injury report.
Injuries. Oh, how we have so many injuries. There's a lot. And these are just some of them. This is start in Arizona. Zaven Collins and AJ Green both left the game and did not return. We saw AJ Green come up lame after landing on it looked like it hyperextended. but it was a knee injury. So there's going to be some concern there, obviously, already without DeAndre Hopkins. Rondale Moore's been out. The wide receivers continue to be banged up for Arizona. You have to be concerned about that offense. David Montgomery left the game against Houston with knee and ankle injuries. There is some concern there. Coach said he was day-to-day, but you have to have some concern there. But Khalil Herbert did come in and run really, really well, and we're going to talk about that, I'm sure, in the Bears game. But losing David Montgomery, that's really been the strong point of this Bears offense. It's been that running game, so you have to worry about the depth there with David Montgomery being out. Joe Mixon had an ankle injury. He left for a while. DJ Reader also had a knee injury for the Bengals against the Jets and did not return. Two key parts here to the Bengals. I know they got the win, but there's still some question marks around the Cincinnati Bengals and them moving forward. Those are two big pieces there. Tracy Walker, devastating news here for Detroit, just came out this morning. He left yesterday. What looked like was an ankle injury. There reportedly now is a possible suffered a torn Achilles. And if that's the case, then he's likely to miss the remainder of 2022. Just got him back in the offseason, paid him, and now they might be without one of their better defensive players on a defense that's already not very good. So that's going to be a tough loss for the Detroit Lions. Green Bay suffered a tough loss on their defense. Jair Alexander, growing injury, left the game and did not return. He was banged up most of last year. If they don't have him, again, that's a lockdown corner who they just gave a big deal to. Without him, that's good. They're going to have to look for a replacement there in that Green Bay secondary. The Chargers had two big losses in that loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Joey Bosa left with the groin injury, and then Rashawn Slater, he was seen in a sling. He left the game, walked to the locker room, and it was a biceps injury for him, and he was seen in a sling, and he did not return as well. So two key pivotal pieces there for the Chargers with injuries on Sunday. We talked about Tua. We don't know if it was a back injury, a head injury. They originally said they thought it was a concussion. He came back and said, oh no, he tweaked his back. Tua, said he tweaked his back. You believe what you want to believe. So we don't know what's going on. They have a short week turnaround. They play Thursday. It's going to be interesting to see if he can get out there, if they have to go through more concussion tests, or if symptoms creep up, right? Because if he really did have a concussion, sometimes it's not the day of, sometimes it's the day after or the next day. And if some symptoms creep up, we could be looking at Teddy Bridgewater quarterbacking for them on Thursday. Dalvin Cook suffered a dislocation of his shoulder. And if you were not aware, last year he had been played without a harness, but now he's going to try to attempt to play with the harness again. So he's going to put that back on there, and he does expect to play next week, but you have to wonder about that shoulder. And I'm not sure why he never got it fixed, but maybe it's just something medically he just doesn't want to do. So he'll play with the harness going forward. My favorite one, arguably, and then I'm not laughing at the injury itself, but just, it's just the Messiah just stirring up the juices. Mac Jones, who we will talk about later, because I do want to talk about him in that game, has having an MRI today on his ankle, suffered a high ankle sprain, is expected to miss time. How long that's going to be and who's going to replace him. I'm sure it's going to be Brian Hoyer to start, but how long do you sit on Brian Hoyer before you want to go to the Zapster, Bailey Zappi, baby? So I expect him to get some time here soon. They also lost Lawrence Guy and Jalen Mills in that game. Another fun one for me here, Michael Thomas, foot injury. I'm not happy he's hurt, but this is why I talk about, pump the brakes on these guys. Michael Thomas is hurt again. Oh, surprise, surprise. Nobody's surprised. Foot injury, left the game, didn't return. Jarvis Landry also left with an ankle injury. That is a surprise because he's a tough dude. Very rarely misses time, but he is getting older. So big time losses for their top two receivers. We will talk about another receiver later on their squad. George Fant, Quincy Williams. I feel like these are such big names for the Jets. Also going out. This is a list of just big names. They left, knee injury and ankle injury, did not return. Garrett Wilson did also leave that game with a rib injury. He did come back for the Jets, so that was good to see after a tough blow that he took across the middle of the field. Garrett Wilson's a dog. He's going to be a real problem. And then Zach Wilson of that same team is trending towards playing week 4. So Zach Wilson looks to be returning this week. That's great for the Jets. They can actually see what they have in their franchise quarterback going forward with all those young weapons, good running backs, and hopefully he has a line to put together in front of him to protect him because they're losing some guys. And then last, the Sunday night game, we saw Denver and the 49ers, and we saw on that Jimmy G stepped out of bounds play. Trent Williams took a got rolled up on. He suffered an ankle injury and did not return. Huge loss for them. Best left tackle in football. Without him, they are going to struggle, especially against the edge rushers that the NFL has to offer. That offensive line is going to hurt. So we'll see how long he's out, but he suffered an ankle injury on Sunday night. Whew. I'm done. That's it.
Bravo.
It's a lot. It's a lot of injuries.
That's what happens on Mondays. There's a lot of injuries, and it's a list. It's a long list to go through, and this one was notable because there was so many big names on it that we had to cover for sure. So we'll keep you guys updated throughout the week as we progress and figure out more and more about these injuries. We'll keep an eye on the big names, which was just about every name that was listed on here. We'll keep an eye on for you. But let's get into our week 3 recap and talk about some things that occurred in week 3. Aaron, let's just start right here. What was your biggest takeaway from the action in week 3?
I have no idea who's going to win the Super Bowl. I think I do. I say the Chiefs. I always say the Chiefs. But when you watch the games, the NFL, the margin of error is this thin. It's this thin. And the parity, and we've talked about the parity before, but the parity around the NFL is so much fun. If you're able to just sit down and watch the Red Zone channel really for hours, right? We're talking about 12 hours of just like wall-to-wall football. If you just sit down and watch it and watch the games and how entertaining they are, this is why the NFL makes so much money. That I don't know how they do it. I get it, the parity around the league. I get the free agency. I don't know how these teams do it, but every moment is entertaining. It's just so much fun to watch, but you never know what's going to happen. The games turn like this. Who you think you know is going to win doesn't win. Who you think you know is good isn't good. The bad teams aren't bad, but then they are, but then they're not. Like it is the roller coaster of emotions that we went through last year, but I feel like this year is different. I don't feel like it's craziness like roller. I think we expected some of this year, but it's fun. It's like watching it is so much fun. And my biggest takeaway is that this league continues to do a really, really good job of producing a product that is, you just can't take your eyes off of it. You cannot take your eyes. I cringe when I have to miss Sunday football. And it's the reason why it's the number one sport right now in the United States. It's the reason why it generates so much money, because when you watch it, for good or bad for your own team, you just can't take your eyes off of it. Every moment is so good. That's my biggest takeaway from week 3, because we're going to get into some game by game stuff. But my biggest takeaway was that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before. I brought this up last week that it's just the good teams. I mean, they're still good. They're still good. Like we still expect the Chargers to be good. We still expect the Chiefs to be good. Like these teams are we expect to be good. But right now, there's like three undefeated teams remaining, and it's the Giants, it's the Eagles, and the Dolphins. And it's like I don't think
there's only 2 teams without a win. It's the Raiders and the Texans.
And the Texans have a tie, so it's like it's just like you said last year. We played the game last year. If you followed us last year, we had a video of a roller coaster. We rode that roller coaster up and down because it was so drastic. Certain things that were happening, like the Jags would beat the Bills 9-6, and that was just a drastic thing. But it was just like a roller coaster. We're up and down, but we still. This year, it's just it's an up and down, but it's not as. There's just so much good football being played from just about every team in the league. And then there's some bad coaching decisions, and obviously it can't all be good. Who's your biggest loser from week 3 of NFL football?
Yeah, my biggest loser has to be the Raiders. I mean, I've been a big Raider advocate, and I'm still not completely off of them, but they have some issues that they got to work through. They're obviously not clicking. That Josh McDaniels offenses still need to work through some things. But to start 0-3 in the NFL, you pretty much season goes down the drain. Like to start 0-3 and make the playoffs is so hard. It's so hard, especially when you play in a tough division and a tough conference, and you've lost to teams already that you probably should have beat to get there in Tennessee now and to the Cardinals. So. It's tough for me to get on the Raiders because I do know. I always say whenever you get a new coach, a new system, new players, it does take time. And we're going to talk about Denver later and how they're hanging on and they're winning, and that matters in those situations. Though, if you can find ways to win games when you're struggling, then as you pick it up and you start to get a cohesive unit, it makes it that much easier. Right now, the Raiders are not finding ways to win those games. So my biggest loser right now, as far as team wise, is the Raiders. Just going forward, they haven't won, and we expected them to be a lot better than they actually are.
Yeah, since 1979, 6 teams have been able to make the playoffs after an 0-3 start. Last week, we talked about teams that start off 0-2 and how hard it is to bounce back and get into the playoffs from that. Only 6 teams have ever made the playoffs after starting 0-3. The most recent came in 2018 with the Houston Texans. They followed an 0-3 start with 9 straight wins and finished the season 11-5 before losing in the wild card round to the Indianapolis Colts. So right now the Raiders are the lone team to be 0-3, to be truly winless to start the season. It's tough. It's tough in this league now. It's tough. There's no easy wins. Like I remember talking about looking at the schedule, and I think about it now. Like I'm like, okay, we did our schedule predictions and our previews and our records and things like that. And obviously it's fluid. We now know things we did not know when we did our schedule predictions and stuff. And I look at it now and I'm like, man, like there's no easy, like, I mean, even New Orleans is struggling. Like we thought New Orleans was going to be great. They lose to the Panthers and then like the Jags and the Chargers and like.
What team in the league so far has been an easy win? Like I can't think of one.
I want to say it. I want to consider Chicago up there. I think Chicago is still an easy win. Like if I were to pick one team in the league that would be considered an easy win, and I get it. Chicago's 2-1 right now. It's hard to consider a team like that 2-1. But you look at their wins. They beat San Francisco in a mud bowl, and they beat Houston, which Houston plays hard, but they still like. I still think like if I were to look at someone's schedule and I saw Chicago on their list, I'd say 31. I'd say 30 out of the 31 teams would beat Chicago.
Perhaps.
Like that's how I think. I mean, look, who do you think? I just
don't know. Like the way the Bears run the football, I don't know that that's an easy win. I mean, they ran all over Green Bay, and despite how Green Bay beat them, like for part of that game, it was like, this game isn't quite over. Like just because the Bears can run the football, that's going to be a problem. And again, I'm not saying the Bears are good. I think they're the worst team in football right now. But I'm just looking for like when we say easy wins, I just don't know that we can really label these things.
That's
easy
fair.
Wins anymore.
That's fair. I don't think any team is an easy like that. That's what I was saying before. I don't think any team is an easy win anymore. Even like people will talk about how like the Texans are bad, the Bears are bad, Atlanta is bad, but they're never easy wins. Like they're like these teams, and I think it's a testament to the coaching that we have in the league right now. I mean, you look at the coaches of these quote bad teams. Lovie Smith is a dog. He no matter what he does, he's going to make it difficult for you to win, no matter if you're the best team in the league or the worst team in the league. These coaches like Lovie Smith, like Doug Peterson, like I'll even throw Arthur Smith in there. He's been battling it out. They battled it out and would not quit against the Rams the other week, and then they won this week. Even Detroit, like these teams are coached well enough to be battling and competing in these games. There are though overreactions to certain things, like. I don't want to keep talking about, like, obviously I'm wearing my Jags gear right now because I'm very excited about this win. I don't want to overreact to things. And I feel like obviously this is a well-known day in time where overreaction Monday. Aaron, what's one overreaction that you've seen so far that you want to kind of pump the brakes on and say, whoa, 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 whoa?
I don't know who's really overreacting. I will say this. I will say this is with an asterisk next. I'm going to say the Philadelphia Eagles. And from a from a standpoint of, are they playing really good football? Absolutely. I'm not knocking the Philadelphia Eagles here by any means. I told you how much I moved them up in my power rankings. They're playing really good football. But I want to pump the brakes a little bit. They jumped up to the NFC favorites. I'm worried about that. I really like to then put those expectations on a team that had a shootout with the Detroit Lions. They go and dominate the Minnesota Vikings, and we'll talk about the Vikings later. And they beat a Washington Commanders team with Carson Wentz, and we all know what the Commanders are. To jump them ahead of teams like the Packers, like the Buccaneers, like the Rams, I got an issue with that. I get it. They're 3-0, and it's easy to say undefeated. They're the only undefeated team in the NFC. They are the favorite. Well, no. Let's pump the brakes. Let's really look at this from a true like competitive standpoint when you get to the playoffs and the experience and what matters at the end of the season. And then if you want to still say the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in football or best team in the NFC, so be it. But I'm really trying to just temper expectations on Super Bowl favorites from being maybe a playoff team. Like I think we need to still pump the brakes on the Philadelphia Eagles a little bit. I do think they're a good football team, and I think they're playing really well. But they're going to still have to beat a team that I feel like is a good team for me to and beat them the way they've been winning for me to really be on board with them being the NFC favorites.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Like it's like you get so high on teams, and then at the end of the day, I mean, look at the teams that are continuing to be in the Super Bowl or be around the Super Bowl conversation. It's, I mean, the Rams, the Chiefs, the Bills, like it's those types of teams. And it's hard to not get into that pattern early on in the season where you're like, okay, like, yeah, they're like, we get so hyped around them, and then you're like, oh, okay, they're going to win. They're going to be a Super Bowl threat. But you're like, oh, we have not seen that level. And it is so hard once the playoffs roll around for teams to actually do that, to be Super Bowl teams. Like it's one thing to be good during the regular season, but let's hold off. And I get it. I'm not, and to your point, you said this as well. Like we're not discrediting anything that the Philadelphia Eagles have done so far. Like they have looked great. They have done exactly what you want them to do. But when you're talking that long, that stretch of season long, where you're talking, okay, Super Bowl, that then starts to talk about a different category.
Resume has to matter. To me, resume has to matter. What you've done in the past with sustained level of success has to matter. You should get the benefit of the doubt. You should. And I'm going to bring something up when we talk about the Niners Broncos game. And it'll speak directly to that. Like, sorry, I went out a little bit there. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, good. I can hear you now.
I mentioned this with Belichick before. Like at some point, you stop getting that pass when you've shown over a couple of seasons, or 3 or 4 or 5 seasons where it's not the same. You're going to stop getting that pass. But 1 year is not going to eliminate everything you've done over your career. So I just want to make sure that fans understand when we talk about these teams, and you will never get an overreaction from me like that. I don't care if you've won 3 straight, 4 straight. I am very much like this throughout the whole season in everything I do. Fantasy football, picking games. Like I'm not willing to bite until I see enough evidence for me to change my opinion. And there have been some things I've already changed on. But you can see, you just know, like players or teams that you're like, I was wrong about that one. And that's okay, because as evidence changes, you're allowed to change your opinion. But I'm not going to do it just because a team has a good week, or just because a team plays a couple of bad teams and has a couple of good weeks. I just won't do it.
There you have it. Let's kind of look forward now. Let's look forward to week 4, and we have a power rankings show on Wednesday. We have another power rankings show, and we're not going to give away anything. And this question may catch you off guard, so I'm going to give you some time to think about it. Whose stock is rising and whose stock is falling?
Do I need to think about it, or can I just answer?
You can answer it. Yeah, you do you, boo. I'm just trying to. I know I put you on the spot here.
So 2 teams that are falling: the New Orleans Saints and the Las Vegas Raiders. Seen enough. Seen enough that I'm comfortable with moving them down. I'm not saying they suck. I'm not saying they can't win games or get back in it, but both of those teams need to be moved down significantly. The Raiders obviously being 0-3 and continuing to lose to bad teams. And then the Saints just not playing well. And losing to Carolina is tough. I know it's on the road. I know it's a division game, and I usually give credit for that kind of stuff, but they just haven't played well. They're my two teams right now that are going to be moving down. As far as stock rising, there's not many teams that the stock is going to rise, but Jacksonville is one of them. Jacksonville stock is rising because I want to just plaster my take about that defense all over the internet. And I wish everybody could have seen it, because to me, I'm most proud of that take so far through 3 weeks out of any take I've had, that I felt like this defense was going to be the most improved in the NFL. And I would venture to guess that not many people can argue with that right now. Because that defense is really good. Christian Kirk take, like, everything about the Jacksonville Jaguars is, even though I didn't pick them to win a lot of games, everything that surrounded that, I felt pretty confident in, and I'm happy to see it's coming to fruition. So the Jacksonville moving up is one of them. The only other one I want to say moving up would be Philly. They're going to move up probably a few more spots.
Yeah.
But I have to see kind of where it's played out. But those are probably the two teams that have been most impressive. Everybody else is kind of like, nah, like in the middle.
Yeah,
in the middle.
We're
not. Well, we're going to get into the whole Miami Buffalo conversation later and Wednesday, and so
I will say I expect to see Denver falling, and if I don't see Denver fall at least 2 spots, I'm going to be very upset. But again, that's a little tease. If you want to find out what our power rankings look like, tune in live at 10 a.m. Eastern time, right here on YouTube at the Sack City Pod for our Week 4 power rankings. Aaron, this one is definitely going to catch you off guard. And I don't remember if you remember saying that we were going to do this, but the invite is in your inbox. The invite is in your inbox now. We did it for Thursday Night Football. This is going to be a trend and a weekly thing that we do for our NFL content. We'll be doing a NFL showdown, DraftKings showdown for the Thursday night games and the Monday night games. It is Monday, and we have the Giants and the Cowboys. This is where we are going to have a captain showdown. DraftKings. Bailey finished the highest out of the people that we know in this contest, but there's 100 spots. Can you be the best out of 100? Bailey did a really good job for Thursday Night Football. He finished, I believe, 6th out of the 100 spots, which is good. Then it was me, and then I think it was AJ, then it was Aaron, and then it was our other intern Tyler, who finished last. This time may be different. Aaron, what are you thinking? What's your lineup looking like? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I do. I think this is a tough game because I think it's going to be very low scoring. So finding those guys is going to be hard. It's crazy as this sound. I'm playing both kickers.
Again?
I'm playing both kickers. Yes, I am. I think it's a low scoring game, defensive game. I am also playing both running backs in Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott. I am playing neither quarterback, which is crazy to say, but I'm playing neither quarterback. And my captain of my team is the Dallas Cowboys defense.
No shit. Did you actually see what I had?
No. Oh, did you put? Oh shit.
Yeah.
I did put the Dallas Cowboys defense as my captain. So I have captain Dallas Cowboys, Saquon, Zeke, Graham Gano, CeeDee Lamb, and Brett Maher.
Okay. All right. I see you. I'm not I'm still rolling on my picks here. I got the Cowboys defense as my captain as well. I've got Saquon, I've got Tony Pollard, and I got Matt Breida. Matt Breida is kind of my lower costing guy that I think that may be able to do some damage. I, like you, will be going with 2 running backs. I might actually take Tony Pollard off here, seeing that I have 12,000. So take me through your thought process. You don't have to spend all your money though, right? Like
no, you don't. And I actually need to change mine. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm trying to see how I want to do this here. I think that
I'm gonna take off the Giants kicker. Where's he at?
Okay. I have 3,100 remaining. I feel
And
like I need to spend that somewhere.
No, you don't. And I am going to go a little sleeper here. I'm going to go Richie James.
That's a good pick. That's not. I am all for that. I was just literally thinking about Noah Brown and Richie James over Matt Breida as my two like lower name guys that could end up being something here. I think
I don't like that.
I talked about Richie James last week about how I think he's going to be good for
this. This is an ugly game, dude.
Yeah,
so ugly of a game.
It is.
Yeah.
I think this is my lineup. I'm locking in this lineup here. I'm going to go with the Cowboys defense as my captain, Saquon, Tony Pollard, Noah Brown, Richie James, and Ezekiel Elliott.
We have basically almost the same lineup after I'm finished.
Oh.
I have the Dallas defense, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Richie James, but I have CeeDee Lamb and Brett Maher. So I took out the Giants kicker and I went Brett Maher there. I'm leaning pretty much all Cowboys except for Saquon and Richie James.
I think Matt Breida's name gets brought up tonight. I think he gets some work that we're like, oh shit, what the hell's Matt Breida doing in there? I felt like that for the past 2 weeks. So where Matt Breida comes up and I'm like, what is Matt Breida? Is he still alive? Like, how is he still a thing? But he is. So don't be surprised if he pops up in some people's lineups. But that does it for another episode of the Sack City Podcast. We'll be back again tomorrow live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, recapping the Monday Night Football game and also bringing you our fantasy discussions, our Week 3 recap for fantasy, as well as looking ahead to the waiver wire for Week 4 and that and so much more. Aaron, you have any last words before we move on to our game recaps?
Nope.
All right. For our audio listeners, again, like Aaron said at the beginning of the show, you are missing out if you are not a part of our YouTube. So be sure to check us out on YouTube at the Sack City Pod. Be sure to subscribe and share. Let everyone know that we are the number one place to be for your football content throughout the year. For my best friend, Aaron Mukes, I am me. Audio listeners, we will see you tomorrow.
They don't get a peace out.
That's fine. Our video people still watching us on YouTube. Thank you guys, of course, for still tuning in. It is now time to get into our Week 3 game by game recaps. And we kick things off with the Houston Texans falling, I should say, to the Chicago Bears 23-20. It was good signs on the Texans side, though, seeing Dameon Pierce out-touch Rex Burkhead 20-3 in terms of carries. He had a very good day, 20 carries, 80 yards, and a touchdown. But that is not the running back that gets all the credit. I know we're starting things off early. We haven't even went into the game yet. But my player of the game is said running back, Khalil Herbert, 20 carries, 2 receptions, 169 yards, and 2 tutties after David Montgomery went out early in the game. Khalil Herbert was able to carry the rock for the Chicago Bears and lead them to victory. Aaron, your overall thoughts on Khalil Herbert and what the Bears did to get the win here on Sunday?
Yeah, not surprising. The Bears were able to run the football. We've talked about the Houston defense against the run. They didn't stack up well against Jonathan Taylor, but they've been kind of this bend but don't break defense. And it was that kind of defense again. They created some turnovers, but Khalil Herbert ran like I expected him to run. He ran really well when David Montgomery missed time last year. He's a hard runner. So it's not surprising that a Khalil Herbert gets that kind of, statistical numbers against a bad defense. I was more concerned with the offensive line. I was more concerned with Justin Fields. But Khalil Herbert himself, I think Khalil Herbert played fine. Fields is intriguing to me. Matt Eberflus, I don't know what the offensive game plan is, and I don't know if this is predicated on the offensive line or not, but he just seems to be running for his life. And then he's just trying to force. So with the limited number of opportunities, every quarterback feels like they have to go and make a play. And don't get me wrong, Justin Fields played bad, and he said he played like shit, and he would need to be held accountable, and he needs to play better and all that stuff. I get that, but I know as a player, when you only get so many opportunities to make a play, you start pressing. And so when Justin Fields is back there only dropping back, 17 times or whatever it is, he's going to press. And when he starts to press, he starts to make mistakes. So Look, I don't really know where right now Justin Fields is a mess. I don't know where we're at. He got sacked 5 times. They're just not doing enough with Justin Fields. And I attributed this to the front office, really, more so than anything. They did not surround him with enough talent for him to really be successful. And I am never one to give excuses. But a rookie quarterback, I'm sorry, they get excuses. They don't have the experience. Justin Fields does not have the experience of an Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers doesn't get an excuse. He's supposed to make up for deficiencies on an offense. Justin Fields cannot be asked to do that when he lacks the experience of reading defenses in the NFL, playing against NFL competition. Those things are something he has to grow into and learn. When you get a young quarterback, the whole point of drafting a young quarterback high is what? It's being able to pay everybody else around him. And who have they paid? They won't even pay Roquan Smith, who had, first of all, that should have been your player of the game because he absolutely dominated. Interception, like I think he had almost 20 tackles. From a defensive standpoint, a defensive player, he is the reason they won that game. I get Khalil Herbert had a great running game, but I think you honestly could have put David Montgomery and he would have done it, or anybody else back there. The Bears run the football really well. They've done it now for 3 straight games. It's been that defense who, again, Roquan Smith. I just don't like that the Bears have surrounded Justin Fields with not limited resources, but nothing. Nothing. It's literally Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery.
This is what we talked about, though. We talked about this being a thing, this being a possible thing that we see during the season. Remember, we preview. It's funny because, like, it's not funny, but like we talked all off season long about how bad this offense is going to look for Justin Fields because he has no weapons. They did nothing to help him out. They did not bring in an offensive line that can protect him. They did not bring in weapons that he can throw to. When you're throwing to Equanimeous St. Brown and Darnell Mooney has not existed. Cole Kmet has not existed. It's just, I don't know how much of this is game plan. How much of this is lack of talent? Like, is this a 50-50 thing here? Or what's your percentage here for game plan and also lack of talent?
Well, I'll start. It's lack of talent more than it is game plan. I'm not going to knock Matt Eberflus only. I'm sorry, but Equanimeous St. Brown, journeyman wide receiver. Byron Pringle, basically a journeyman wide receiver. Darnell Mooney's the only one that's a little lackluster that I'm like, where are you? Like, you're supposed to be a big playmaker. That might be more scheme. Scheme him to get open. Find ways to get Darnell Mooney the ball because he is an electric player, the only electric player they have on the outside. So, yeah, I would say 60-40. 60 for front office management for getting him nothing, no offensive line help, and going to get Alex Leatherwood instead of actually just investing in some offensive line help this offseason. They could have did what the Bengals did. Why couldn't they go out and pay and do what the Bengals did? And I get the Bengals offensive line still sucks, but they could have went out and got the names.
This is Jacksonville last year, and I know I'm a Jags fan. Like this is Jacksonville last year with Trevor Lawrence, and it's. You're asking your franchise quarterback who you invested highly in to go out there and be successful with a team of special teamers on offense. Like that's kind of where like the Jags last year had James Robinson. The Bears have a great running game with David Montgomery. There's like the weapons are like kind of there, but there's not enough there to say, okay, franchise quarterback, franchise rookie and young quarterback, go do what you got to do to win us football games. It's just not. I don't like what the Bears are doing for Justin Fields, and this is exactly what we thought we would see from the Bears, but it's just. I guess it's a little bit more disappointing that it's as bad as it is. I think that's where it's at right now. It's like we thought they'd be bad, and they won this game. The Bears won this game. The Bears are 2-1. Like that's the thing. The Bears are 2-1 right now. They are what? They're tied. They're tied for first in the NFC South, right? Well, I guess the Packers would have the advantage over them because they're also 2-1 and they beat them. But like they're right there. They're 2-1 in this division. Like that's a thing.
That's why I say overreactions, like because the Bears are 2-1 and we know that, but none of us believe it. So none of us believe that the Bears 2-1 is a real 2-1. Like we know that this team is bad, and again they had circumstances around their games, but at the end of the day, you brought it up that you hit the nail on the head when you talked about franchise quarterbacks and surrounding them guys. Patrick Mahomes is not Patrick Mahomes because he came out, he was just Patrick Mahomes. I get it, he was great, but If they didn't have those guys around him and a great coaching staff, he wouldn't be Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen would not be Josh Allen right now if they didn't surround him with everything he needed to be successful. And that's the problem, is they think these guys just come out and that's who they are, and that's not the case. Justin Fields is not just going to be that great future Hall of Famer Justin Fields that you expected when you drafted him just because his name is Justin Fields. You have to put him in a position to be successful, and the Bears have not done that.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
And we wasted all that time on the Bears when the Texans, just tough loss for the Texans. They could have won that game. And shout out Bainbridge, Georgia, for Damian Pierce. You're a dog, and you should be the starter, and you should get the more carries than Rex Burkhead. And I'm glad that they're giving them to you.
I feel like on the Texans side, if you're a Texans fan watching this and you're a Texans fan to watch this game, it's again those positive takeaways we said at the beginning of the season. We'll continue to say it now. This is how it's going to be. You might not win these games, but you're going to keep them close. And I think they're starting to develop that strategy of a winning. Like, Lovie Smith is not a dumb coach. He's not a bad coach. He's not a great coach, but he's not a bad coach. And he's smart enough to recognize what the problems are and fixing them. And we saw the adjustments progress through 3 weeks. Now giving Damian Pierce 20 carries in this game, and you saw what he can do with it. He was very productive. And it really came down to a last second Davis Mills turnover that really ended this game. Like, that's what it came down to. And that's something that, like,
ball.
Yeah. So like, it's not something that's like crazy. It's like, oh, this is terrible. They're dogs. They continue to fight. Houston will continue to be. I think there's more positives out of the losing team in this game than the winning team. Like, I think that's the.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think Houston's going in the right direction, playing tough, and it's exactly what we talked about. They're a young team, so they're going to lose these games. They're going to make miscues when they shouldn't, but they're right there, and that's the growth you want to get from them. Playing these close games now. Next year, you have another year, whether you decide it's Davis Mills or not. They've been in those situations, and they'll be able to make those adjustments and come away with a few more wins. And it's all you can ask for from a young team, is to continue to progress.
Yep. Next week, Houston hosts the Chargers, and the Bears are on the road to take on the Giants. So tough test for the Texans, and a possible winnable game for the Bears. I don't know. We'll see if the Giants come out alive tonight on Monday Night Football. The next game on our list is the Tennessee Titans defeating the Las Vegas Raiders at home 24-22. On the Raiders side of things, Matt Collins came out and was the best player on this team. 8 receptions, 158 yards, and a touchdown for the Raiders, but they still can't get the job done against a Titans team that, well, they did exactly what we say they would have to do if they want to win football games, and that's give Derrick Henry the ball. And that it seems like this offense was exactly what we have seen them from in the past, where Derrick Henry is touching the ball more than anybody and out there making plays. I think the biggest thing in this game was getting Derrick Henry involved in the passing game. I think that was the biggest factor. We talk about it all the time. You want to put the ball in your best player's hands when you need it the most. Derrick Henry not only had 20 carries, but he also had 5 receptions for 58 yards in this game. And I'm sorry to steal your thunder here. I know I got to send this to you. But I think that with this Tennessee Titans team, I've been the lowest on them. And I think this was the most positive game, obviously, because they won. But the way they won was not just Derrick Henry 25 plus carries with 120 yards, something like that. He was involved in the passing game, getting the most work out of the running backs in the passing game. That's what you got to do. You have to adjust. You have to get Derrick Henry involved somehow, some way. And they did that here against the Raiders to be able to win 24-22. What were your takeaways in this game?
I still will die on this hill. It was more positive, or it was more negative Raiders than positive Titans. I've told you guys for 2 years what makes Tennessee successful in the regular season. Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry has a great game, Tennessee wins. Like, I don't care if it's rushing, receiving. It don't matter how he touches the ball to me. You give him the ball 25 times, Derrick Henry's probably going to be an efficient back. The problem is when he gets those games where it's 25 touches for 73 yards and nothing else, they lose. And it didn't change. Like, this game didn't change that. Matter of fact, they still almost blew the game, but it didn't change that for me. They have no outside weapons. And that's the problem with the Tennessee Titans. It's not that they can't win regular season games. Again, this was the number one team in the AFC last year as far as record standpoint. But did you watch that game against the Raiders? And I watched a lot of it and say this team was better than last year? Nope. It didn't look better. They still didn't have no outside weapons. Their only weapon in yesterday's game was Robert Woods, who had 4 catches for 85 yards. Outside of that, the next person had 3 for 40. Like, there is just no talent on the outside to continuously win. And because of that, you are solely predicated on the success of Derrick Henry. And that, I'm sorry, is not a recipe for success in today's NFL. It's just not. You have to have more. So can you win some regular season games? Sure, you won some last year. But when it comes down to it, I am no longer holding the Tennessee Titans to the standard of just winning regular season football games, because the fans that came at me, the team that they were last year that they were supposed to be were Super Bowl contenders. So I don't compare you to the Raiders. I'm comparing you to the Chiefs, the Bills, the teams that we think are going to the Super Bowl. So if you want to just be happy with your regular season wins, fine, congrats. Derrick Henry can get you that. But I don't care about none of that stuff anymore. It's the argument that I make about quarterbacks when you get paid $100 million. You don't just get the pass of winning regular season games and making it to the playoffs. You're supposed to be a contender. And right now the Tennessee Titans are not. They can't compete with those powerhouses. So for that, it's a failure. Nothing else matters. It's the reason why Malik Willis should be the quarterback, because Ryan Tannehill is not going to make up for those deficiencies that the Tennessee Titans have. And because of that, you need to move on. You need to find a guy that perhaps has the upside and talent to make up for those deficiencies. That's who you drafted that's what you drafted Malik Willis for. So until then, I always say I don't care, but I don't care about this win for the Titans. Congrats. You won a home game against a team that has not looked very good with a new coach and a new regime. And I get it. We were all high on the Raiders. Congrats. You won the game. You should have won the game. But I'm not overly impressed. I thought this was more bad Raiders than good Titans.
Yeah, let's get into the Raiders side of it. Obviously, 22 points in this loss here. Mac Hollins, their leading receiver, with 8 receptions, 158 yards, and a touchdown. I don't want to do this, and I know you'll laugh at me, but it needs to be brought up. It needs to be brought up. In the last 11 games for Josh McDaniels, it has not been good. He's 8-17. Oh, that's not the right stat. Jesus Christ, it didn't change that. Josh McDaniels has not been good in the past 11 games of his head coaching career. He's 1-10 with 21 points, averaging 21 points per game and a minus 92 point differential. He has not won a game in 12 games. Like it's not good, or 11 games. It's not good. Is it too early to start being concerned with the Raiders?
Concerned with them, no, but it is too early to worry about whether Josh McDaniels deserves to be a head coach or not. I think that's a little early. I think that's just like, I don't hold what happened in Denver to what's happened now, because it's been such a big gap since he's been a head coach, and he's grown, and he's been in different systems, and he's evolved. And so right now I'm just looking at Josh McDaniels as a Raiders coach. And has there been struggles? Absolutely. Has there things that I would like to see differently? Absolutely. I don't think they run the ball enough. I don't think their offensive line is good enough really to run the ball the way they want to. But when they have success, they haven't stuck with it. They've kind of gone away. And I think this is all about trying to make that Derek Carr salary worth it. Like, let's pay our quarterback. We got to throw him 45 times, and he's got to be the Mahomes. No, they just have to be efficient. I don't know how many times watch Lamar Jackson play football. And I get Derek Carr's not Lamar Jackson when it comes to running the football. We know that. But that's not what I'm talking about. Lamar Jackson is going to get paid $40 million or $50 million or whatever it's going to be. And he can win games throwing the ball 17 times. You know why? Not only because he runs the ball, but when he does throw it, it's efficient. It's not just about him being able to move with his legs. He can throw for 5 touchdowns and only throw the ball 20 times because he's efficient. He finds his guys, and the offense is easy for him, and they scheme it up really well. That's what Josh McDaniels has to do. He has to understand that this is not Tom Brady. Derek Carr is not Tom Brady. He's not going to just ding, 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 ding. And then, no, it's not going to work that way. That he has to build his offense around the personnel he has, and he's not doing that. He's not finding ways to get Devontae Adams the ball. I think the very first week you saw Derek Carr say, you know what? I don't care. I'm throwing to Devontae Adams. Because that's my guy. That happened week 1. And since then, it's been like, okay, I'm going to run the offense. No, it's going to be at the end of the day, it's got to be Devontae Adams, it's got to be Darren Waller, and then it's got to be Hunter Renfrow. But they have to start running the football in order for that to happen. It's just an offensive schematic thing that they have to fix. And I do think Josh McDaniels is good enough and smart enough to figure it out. But they're finding ways to lose in bad ways, like giving up blown lead. That's tough. It sucks, but it's tough. Turning over the ball in most inopportune times. They're driving down in a game to make it a one-score game late, and then you turn the ball over on the goal line. Like, Derek Carr can't have those moments. Those things, it's just small little details that the Raiders are missing right now, and it resulted in 3 losses. But I do.
Are they fixable? Are they fixable details?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Too much talent on the team to not be fixable. Now, will Josh McDaniels be able to do that? Who knows? And I've talked to a lot of Raider fans on Facebook, and I got some Raider fans. Obviously, I'm from California, so there's many Raider fans out there that have already given up on McDaniels. I will tell you I will tell you the same thing I always say, like, stop. Just shut up. Just stop with I quit on my team after 3 weeks. Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. But these guys know what they're doing. They're just in a new situation against really good players who also get paid money. Like, the defense also gets paid. Their job is to stop the offense. It's going to happen. You have to learn how to adjust. They will make those adjustments as the season goes on. And maybe they don't make the playoffs this year, but it's year 1 of a new era of Raider football. So you got to give things time. Some teams can't just flip a switch. And that's really all I can say. They're struggling now, but I do have faith they'll fix it.
Yeah. My player of the game was Derrick Henry. I think if the Titans win a game, when the Titans win games, it's probably going to be a Derrick Henry player of the game. I thought that this is exactly what we wanted to see from the Titans, or exactly what we would think to see from a Titans win when Derrick Henry is touching the ball this much. 25 total touches, 113 yards, and a touchdown in this game. He was the offense to Ryan Tannehill. Had his moments. He was good in this game, but really it was Derrick Henry making these huge plays for the Tennessee Titans to get this win here. Before we move on to our next game, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Indianapolis Colts. I want to give a special shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out Joey B. Your Sac State defeated Colorado State 41-10.
New era, baby.
New era.
Sac State used to be bad, and now they're starting to shift in a different direction.
All right. Well, that's that. We will be talking. We did give the. Did anyone have the Giants winning this game in terms of our predictions?
I don't know.
Joey B, go and check out our Monday night preview on YouTube after this. It's out there. I do think we gave the Giants a shot in this game.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a close, low scoring.
Yeah, something like that. The next game on our list that we're going to dive into is the Kansas City Chiefs falling to the Indianapolis Colts on the road, 20-17. Patrick Mahomes in this game, not a stellar performance, not his normal stellar September performances. 20 of 35, 262, a touchdown and an interception in this game. The Colts get their first win after getting blown out and shut out by Jacksonville Jaguars in week 3. They come back and defeat the Indianapolis Colts here. Aaron, how much of this is the Colts defeat the Chiefs here? How much of this is the Colts doing what we thought they would do, and how much of this is the Chiefs blowing this? And like, where does this win fall under? Is it the Chiefs losing this game or the Colts winning this game?
I don't know. This game, it's not much of anything. I'm gonna be honest. I said when we did our prediction show, I said, like, it's not going to shock me if the Colts won this game. Do you remember me saying that? Because it's at home. It's just one of those games where when the Chiefs were playing very lackluster, when the score was like 7-0 late in the first quarter, then it was like 7-7. I was like talking to myself. I was like, yep, this is one of those Chiefs games. It's going to be this is one of their losses, or maybe they escape with a win and everybody says like, oh, what's wrong with the Chiefs? Like, I knew that was the conversation. And honestly, I just think I'm going to say the Chiefs blew it because the Colts did come back and they got the late drive and they won. Neither team played that great to me. I thought the Chiefs were a little bit lazy in their scheme about trying to apply pressure. And they're usually a team that applies pressure. And I think that they were a little bit lazy in their ability to put the foot on the gas and apply pressure. That was my biggest takeaway. I thought that they could have been a little bit more aggressive, and I didn't think they were. And I think Patrick Mahomes spoke to that on some of those fourth down plays or some of the throws that they wanted to go for it, and they just didn't. But this is one of those games, man, on the road in the NFL against a team that we thought was going to be pretty good in the Colts. But no, was I excited by the Colts? Hell no, they didn't play well. They did not play well either. 21 for 71 for Jonathan Taylor. Matt Ryan played decent at the end, but wasn't great overall. The defense played pretty good, I guess, without Darius Leonard, I guess you could say. But
Shaquille Leonard.
Darius Leonard. But honestly, I don't have a lot on this game because I think this is just one of those games where a good team on the road, you just chalk it up as a loss.
Yeah,
and you move on.
The Chiefs pretty much did I don't want to discredit what the Colts did, but the Chiefs pretty much did everything to possibly lose this game that they possibly could have. A muff punt from Sky Moore that led to the Colts Colts touchdown, missed extra point, missed 34-yard field goal, a fake field goal that led to an incompletion. It just seemed like the Chiefs did everything wrong in this game, and credit to the Colts for capitalizing on it and making sure they got the win here. Matt Ryan, like you said, he didn't do terrible, but he didn't do great. He didn't do terrible. 27 of 37, 222 yards and 2 touchdowns. This was his 35th career fourth quarter comeback, the 5th most in NFL history. So Matt Ryan continuing to do what Matt Ryan does well. Finding ways to come back and finding ways to lead his team to victory. And I think that's my biggest takeaway for the Colts here. Like, if there is a takeaway here from this game, it's that I don't think Carson Wentz can do this. I don't think Carson, like, if this was Carson Wentz.
That's not fair.
I don't think
that's not fair. Carson Wentz did in week 1 against Jacksonville to you guys. You should know that. That's not fair. That's not a fair assessment, though. We've watched Carson Wentz lead game-winning drives.
No. I know we've seen Carson Wentz do that before. I just don't know if maybe I'm disrespectful, but I think I'm the disrespectful one to Carson Wentz. But let's be honest, Carson Wentz was playing a lot better with Indy last year at this time than Matt Ryan. No. I'm not saying that he was playing or Matt Ryan's playing better. I'm saying in the adversity in this game, I think Matt Ryan was able to lead this Colts team to the victory, and I'm not sure that Carson Wentz would have been able to lead this team to that type of victory. But let's talk
wait, you don't want me to respond to your bad?
No, take? I don't want you to respond to that. Okay. I don't want you to respond to that. I want you to respond to this because I know you're gonna give me shit for this, and I do not care. You said this game was very meh. Well, guess what? The player of the game is very meh. I'm giving it to rookie tight end Jelani Woods. 3 targets, 2 receptions,
good pick,
13 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown. It was these were his first 2 receptions in his career, first 2 touchdowns of his career. It was the game winner. He was reliable. He was responsible, and he was able to help the Colts get the job done. Colts win this game against the Chiefs.
I have no problem with that. I think that's a good player of the game. I think he deserves it. There wasn't much else to really go with. Nobody else really stood out. I thought that was a good pick.
All right, well, good. I'm glad you like that. So the Colts defeat the Chiefs 20-17. Colts move to 1-1. The Chiefs move to 2-1. The next game on our list, here it is. It's the Miami Dolphins defeating the Buffalo Bills 21-19. What a game it was. Josh Allen in this game, 42 of 63, 8 carries, 447 total yards, 2 touchdowns for the losing quarterback in this game. This was the most pass attempts in Buffalo Bills history in this game, the 63 attempts that Josh Allen had. This game was it everything? It was everything you hoped it would be.
This was a great football game. And you know what? For everybody that's like, well, no, there was no scoring and blah, blah, blah. If you don't appreciate the football game that you saw between the Bills and the Dolphins, then you actually don't really know football. First of all, let's not even talk about the football side. Let's talk about the elements of this game. How the players were dying on the field. Extremely exhausted. It was humid there. It was hot. They were talking about players, like you could see players puking on the sidelines. needing what, like it was a football game, and I was so excited to watch it. The thing that stood out to me the most is just that it was just a football game. This is what we talk about, like that warrior mentality that football players have. Both teams gave everything they had. Both teams know what this game meant from a psychological aspect of the game of football. This wasn't about the division. It was week 3. Like, let's be honest, at the end of the day, nobody cares about this game in week 3. But the psychological edge of the Bills have been riding so high. The Dolphins think they're coming. We got to do this. Like, you saw the emotion, not just the emotion of the players, emotion of the coaches, Josh Allen, Ken Dorsey, like everything came out. And it was Tua wobbling, probably concussed, saying, no, I got to get my ass back in this game. I just loved every minute of that game. I watched. I had a weird setup. You know, my house. You know, I don't live with a lot, but I had 2 phones up on one on Red Zone channel, one on the Bills game, or my laptop was on the Bills game, and then my other 2 were on another game in the Red Zone channel. And so I'm like just all into this, and I'm just going to tell you, this game was so far my favorite game of the year, even more so than the Dolphins and the Ravens last year.
You mean last? Yeah.
Like this was my.
Go ahead.
Why are you waiting? Oh, what?
Yeah,
what
you were mega frozen. You were mega frozen. I was trying to figure out where you were.
What part did you hear last? I just said
you
this
were
was
very
my favorite
excited.
game of the year.
Favorite game of the year, and then it
far.
sounded like you said since even more so than the Dolphins Ravens game.
Yes, even more so than the Dolphins Ravens game. This is my favorite game of the year so far.
Yeah, in this game though, I don't want to do this and discredit it, but in this game, the Buffalo Bills seem to have dominated every stat category when it comes to this game. 16 more first downs than the Dolphins, 285 more total yards than the Dolphins, possessed the ball for over 40 minutes of this game, ran 90 offensive plays. The Bills offensively controlled this game, but it was the Dolphins that were able to finish it and get the win 21-19. Is this, how much of this, like, what did you see from the Dolphins that was like, oh shit, this is the real, like, just, was it their resiliency? What was it from the Dolphins in this game that helped push them over the top?
Well, they were efficient. Like you mentioned it. They were an efficient team. They scored 21 points and only had the ball for 19 minutes. So like stats are great. Like at the end of the day, numbers are so good. Like 500 yards and 17 this, but the only number that matters is how many points are you scoring? Like how many points are you scoring and how many points are you giving up? The Dolphins made key timely plays in big moments, and that's really all that matters. I don't care. I've seen a bunch of things on TikTok and Instagram about how the Bills dominated this one and the Miami got lucky. And I'm thinking, I'm like, no, they didn't. They made plays when it happened. There wasn't like Buffalo just turned the football over a lot either. Like they only had 1 turnover on the game, but Miami didn't turn the ball over. They were efficient. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me is everybody gets so enamored with the big stats that Josh Allen puts up. And obviously, I'm not here to knock the Bills. They're the best team in football to me. But at the end of the day, what are you doing to stop the other team from getting in the end zone? And Miami did that. That's all that matters. Miami gave up 5 points in the second half, and one of it was off of a butt kick. Like they gave up 5. Like at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. So the credit needs to go to Miami. Despite everything, the credit needs to go to Miami. They only had the ball for 19. Tyreek Hill did not do anything in this game, and they still were able to find a way to win the football game against what I think everybody knows is the best team in football.
Yeah, no, I think this is a credit to a big credit and a big shout out should go to Mike McDaniels here. First 3 wins of his career: Belichick, Harbaugh, McDermott. And I don't want to say McDermott is like a god, like on like God's
He's one of the best coaches in football.
He is. And for Mike McDaniels to come in here and battle through adversity in this game, battle through adversity against the Ravens, control the game against the Patriots. This is a good, very, very good team and a very well-coached team. Go ahead.
In that same breath, he gets credit. Like, where is the Tua? And I know you're not knocking him, but all those Tua haters, he can't. I'm sorry. We don't look at him and say that's Justin Herbert. But guess where Justin Herbert's at? Justin Herbert's 1-2 and just lost to the Jaguars, while Tua is getting concussed, coming back in a game, maybe he shouldn't have been or not. And he beats the Patriots, he beats the Ravens on the road, and then beats the Bills. And all we sit there and talk about is, well, we're not sure. We're going to give credit everywhere else except for Tua.
I think I think you hit it right there. And also to build on that, like literally in that Thursday night football game with the Chargers and Chiefs, there was so much talk about the Chargers and Justin Herbert being a dog, and that play where his ribs and he couldn't get the first down, but the next play he throws a dart. This Tua what happened with Tua, like it's very serious. Like there's investigations for like whether or not they passed the concussion protocol, all that kind of stuff. But Tua's a dog. Like he was bumbling and stumbling. He looked dead before halftime. He looked dead before halftime. That man, there's no reason why that man should have been playing football. If you were to look at what happened before halftime, he came back. He won them this football game. It's unfortunate that it was a concussion and that we have to talk about the investigation of whether or not they passed concussion protocol and this and that. Tua fought back. Tua was dead, came back to life, and won this game for the Dolphins 21-19. I gave Tua the player of the game last week, and you hear me out on this player of the game. It's not necessarily someone who had a phenomenal game. He did have a game-changing play, but I really want to talk about this player, and I don't think he gets enough love. My player of the game is Melvin Ingram. I know, pump the brakes. It's Melvin Ingram. 3 tackles in this game, 2 sacks in this game, which is huge. Like you talk about game-changing plays, sacking Josh Allen is hard enough to do in itself, but Melvin Ingram did it twice in this game, and that fumble recovery. That fumble recovery, which led to Miami Dolphins scoring points, that's what matters. You needed, in a game where we're talking about the offenses and this and that, like Tua leading Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Josh Allen and offense, scoring points. We talked about it, and in our previews, we always bring it up in our previews when it's an offensive game. What defensive player is going to step up? And it was Melvin Ingram in this game who helped them and stepped up big to have game-changing plays. And I really wanted to talk about this because we saw this last year with Melvin Ingram, or 2 years ago with Melvin Ingram, when he joined the Chiefs and came in and was an impact player and a difference maker. He's doing the same thing in Miami, and I just really wanted to give credit to Melvin Ingram here and this Dolphins defense as a whole too, and specifically Melvin Ingram, because there's all the big names. We talk about him. Xavier Howard on defense too, like Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, all this, Mike McDaniels. Never get credit to Melvin Ingram, but Melvin Ingram is flying under the radar as a huge big-time difference maker for this Miami Dolphins team.
I'm good with it. I don't have a problem with that. I thought the Dolphins defense, and again, I don't care about the 400, 500 yards. I don't care. That means nothing to me. 500 yards of hollow offense. I thought the Dolphins defense played great. And the one thing I will say about that defense, they never wavered from what their game plan was. They blitzed Josh Allen. They got after Josh Allen. And this goes to show you in the NFL, and we've seen it. Now we've seen it with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen it over the years with Brady. If you put pressure, if you are able to get pressure on an elite quarterback, at the end of the day, your team will be right there and have a chance to win the game. Like Josh Allen played great and he did everything he could. But at the end of the day, they put so much pressure on him that it forced Buffalo out of what they wanted to do. And that's all that matters. At the end of the day, they did what they needed to do, and they never wavered from it. They didn't care if they gave up a big play. They gave up a big play. Guess what the next play was? We're bringing some more pressure. And they blitz the most in the NFL currently right now. And this is the type of defense they're going to play because they trust that if they do give up a big play, guess what they have on their offense is also big play weapons to come back from it. And that is a beautiful thing when one side of the ball is trusting in the other side of the ball, despite giving up 500 yards, only 19 points. And Tua said, okay, you did your part. You gave up 19 points to the best offense in football right now, and we need to score more. So what we're going to go do, we're going to score 21 and win the game. And they did.
Recipe for success. So it's as simple as that. The Dolphins here. I'm excited to see what your power rankings look like on Wednesday with these two teams.
It's going to be so much fun.
Buffalo has been number 1. The Dolphins were, I think, 4 on your power rankings last week. So
they were number 4 behind KC, Baltimore, and Buffalo. So it's gonna be fun. Wednesday's
power rankings are going to be huge. Huge. This game was fun. We'll see these two teams match up later on in the season, and that'll probably be our game of the week then. But yep, the Dolphins defeat the Buffalo Bills 21-19 and lead the AFC East now. The next game on our list, it is the Detroit Lions losing to the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Detroit Lions 28-24 with a nice little comeback from Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Not once, but twice. They were down, I believe they were down 14-3 at one point, and then they were down 24. I have the stats here. I just have to find it. But they were down twice in this game. They were able to come back, battle through adversity against the Lions, it's a team that won't quit. It's a team that will not quit and a team that will not die. Vikings squeak out the win. Aaron, you talked about it on our game previews. You were like, if something happens or if it's close with the Vikings and the Lions, there's going to be some shit coming up on Monday. That's kind of what you said on your game preview of this. Is that the case here?
I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed, actually, as crazy as this sounds. I'm disappointed in the Lions. They should have won this game. This was their game. Disappointed in the Lions. I really am. Because I expect now certain things. And I love the mindset of a Dan Campbell. But there does come a point where you have to start taking out the out of it and just be smart football team. Like, you have to play smart at times. And I thought there were a couple of calls where they did not take field goals that they should have to add points, especially when you're ahead. When you're ahead, and I know he wants to put his foot on the throat, but they were up I believe 14-3, and they were at 4th down in field goal range early in the game, in the first half. They decided to go for it instead of taking the 17-3 lead. Then late in the game, they did it again, and I was like, those are times where you just have to get points. And so, again, different philosophy. I do love it, and I know that's who he is, but I felt like they should have won this football game, and it proved to me what I thought about the Minnesota Vikings. I don't believe in them. I don't trust them. I don't trust the Minnesota Vikings. Where is this Kevin O'Connell miraculous offense? Where's this, Justin Jefferson's going to break records, and oh my God, Justin Jefferson had 3 catches for 14 yards against one of the worst defenses in football. Adam Thielen was basically non-existent until the end of that game when they went catch, and then scored the touchdown. Where was this potent offense? I'm waiting for it. Hey, where's AJ at? Because this is the guy who told me, it's going to be different, and the Vikings offense, it's different. They're a different team. And no, this is the same damn offense they've been running forever. The only difference is CJ Ham isn't in the game. Instead, they got KJ Osborne as a receiver. It's 3 wide receiver sets instead of having a fullback or an extra tight end. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying their offense isn't good, because it is. They put up 28 points. My problem is this was supposed to be different than the Minnesota Vikings of old. And it's not. It's the same Minnesota Vikings team. The only game that they had where it looked different, perhaps, was against Green Bay. And I'm sorry, but 2 years in a row, Green Bay comes into week 1 and lays an egg. They just didn't care about playing football. And we've seen now since then, Green Bay beat Tampa, Green Bay blow out Chicago. So they're trending up, and Minnesota's trending the other way. They can't stop anybody. You're letting Jamal Williams look like the second coming of Barry Sanders, and it wasn't even DeAndre Swift. He got hurt again in this game. And you're letting Josh Reynolds, you're letting Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in both of these teams. I'm disappointed that the Lions didn't win, which I'm still excited about them, but I'm just disappointed they didn't win. Minnesota, I have serious concerns about. Serious concerns about the contending team that they were supposed to be. And I get it. They're 2-1. Cool. But they're not ready to compete with Green Bay. They're not ready to compete with Tampa. They're not ready to compete with the Rams. They're not ready to compete with Philadelphia at this point. I don't know. I'm still waiting for it. Where's Kevin O'Connell's mystery, wonderful offense? I don't see it.
Yeah. You brought up DeAndre Swift getting hurt in this game. This morning, we did get a report that said DeAndre Swift suffered a shoulder sprain in the loss on Sunday against the Vikings. It's not expected to require surgery, but Swift could miss some time. It does help when you can say that Jamal Williams had this type of day, 20 carries, 2 receptions, 107 total yards, and 2 touchdowns. As my player of the game, I thought he did a great job. Again, we talked about the Bears earlier and how Khalil Herbert came in and stepped in for David Montgomery. When he went down, Jamal Williams did the same exact thing for the Lions. He came in, he dominated, he looked very good. This defense of the Minnesota Vikings looked like Swiss cheese again. That's kind of like, it's just very holy, and I don't mean like praying holy. I think holy like as in Jamal Williams doing what he did. So he is my player of the game, and although they did lose, he still gets the player of the game for me because of how productive and how efficient he was for the Detroit Lions. But yes, the Vikings defeat the Lions in this one. No Justin Jefferson really in this game. I didn't hear Amon-Ra St. Brown's name a whole lot in this game either. But not to say that he had a bad game.
He played well. He had like 6 catches, and he played fine. We come to expect him to get a big yardage. He also had a play called back that was I believe it was close to a touchdown. It was called back due to a penalty. So that's tough. This is the last hard-hitting question that we have to ask for this recap here. If the Vikings make it to the NFC Championship, will Aaron rent an ice fishing hut on a lake in northern Minnesota? Can we make this happen? I'll jump in the lake ass butthole naked.
Butthole naked. There you have it, folks.
If the Vikings make the NFC Championship game.
There's your headline from this recap. Please put that in the recap. Aaron will jump into a lake. Ass butthole naked. Ass butthole naked into a lake. What a guy. What a guy. Next game on our list. It's the Baltimore Ravens defeating the New England Patriots 37-26. Mac Jones did get hurt in this game. He could be out and missing some time. Not good news for the New England Patriots here for that on that front. He will have an MRI today as we speak on his ankle. Not good news for a high ankle sprain for Mac Jones. Not good news. But not to bury the lead here, the Baltimore Ravens did defeat the New England Patriots 37-26. And what a day it was from Lamar Jackson, continuing his MVP level performances here in this game against the Patriots. Aaron, what were your takeaways from this? What were your takeaways from this matchup? Not just necessarily on the Ravens side, because I know how much you like the Ravens and what you saw from them, but also on the Patriots side, putting up 26 points and what they did here.
Yeah, from a Baltimore perspective, I'll just say Lamar Jackson, stop, people. Just stop. Stop trying to find reasons to hate on this man. Stop trying to say he can't play quarterback, he can't do what he does or whatever. I don't care what the excuse is, what the playoff, he needs to get paid. He is doing this with – there's teams out there that have better weapons than Lamar Jackson has. Like Rashad Bateman, a nice piece. He's cool. Mark Andrews is great. That's probably the only great weapon he has. J.K. Dobbins is just getting back. You got Justice Hill running the football. Lamar Jackson is doing this with guys named Devin Duvernay, who most of you have never heard of, and James Prochet and Isaiah Likely's and all this stuff. Pay the man. That's all. He's great. Right now, he's the front runner to me for MVP. Despite Tua being 3-0 and all that stuff, I think right now Lamar Jackson is the MVP of the league, as he was a couple of years ago, and as he was heading towards even a year after that when he was 8-3 before got banged up and all that stuff happened. So Ravens are back on track. I think they're fine. I don't care that the Patriots put up 26 points. I don't. Mac Jones threw for 300 yards. Cool. He also threw 3 picks. The one player that really stood out to me in this game was Devontae Parker. Like, he played like the Devontae Parker can play at his best, and I thought that was really good. He made a lot of catches. He made a lot of plays for Mac Jones, and yet New England still found a way to lose the game. They ran the ball pretty well, 150 yards on the ground, and 3 touchdowns, and they still found a way to lose the game. So at home, this is the New England Patriots of now. This is the 2022 New England Patriots. This is not 2003. This is not the Tom Brady-led Patriots. We are done. Bill Belichick's reign as the almighty of God coaching is done. Like, he Go to the Hall of Fame. Retire. This team is not going to take you where you want to be. And it would not shock me if Belichick takes that route in the next couple of years. Mac Jones ain't it. Mac Jones is not a franchise guy that is going to lift you above your deficiencies. I just want to say this with all my heart, Patriot fans. You had a great run. Every dynasty, every single dynasty comes to an end. You had the longest dynasty of any football team that's ever been on the face of this earth. It was 20 years of dominance where you went to multiple Super Bowls, won many, lost some, but dominance where you knew you were going to be there year in and year out. That time is over. It's a new regime, new blood. That time is over. Get used to it. Join the rest of the football world in searching for the next guy, searching for the next quarterback, searching for an offensive line, searching for new.
Any Patriots fans that needs help with getting used to that type of life, I'm a Jaguar fan.
Listen,
so you can come and ask me. I know how this is. I've been dealing with it for a while.
Jaguars have never even experienced a dynasty. Take it from a Dallas Cowboys fan who's experienced a dynasty twice in the 70s and in the 90s, and realizing year in and year out, you expect your team to be fighting for at least getting to the championship. That time is over in New England. They aren't good enough. You're never going to compete at this point with the way they're structured with the Bills, with the Chiefs, with those two teams, right? Those are the two teams that have kind of taken over the AFC as far as year in and year out. Just get used to it. Root for your team, have fun, drink lots of beer on Sunday, and at the end of the day, understand that, you know what, guys, we're going to win some games, but we're going to lose more. And that's it. Like, it's over. Right. The Belichick dynasty is over.
Unless you give Bailey Zappi a chance while Mac Jones is out and he comes in and
free Bailey Zappi. Until you find the franchise quarterback, and it's hard.
Until you find your
all can't be the Packers.
Until you find your Bailey Zappi, you will struggle.
Bailey Zappi.
Start Bailey Zappi. Surprise, surprise. Lamar Jackson does get the player of the game here for me. Obviously crushed it again. 5 touchdowns, 315 total yards. He was Lamar Jackson. He did exactly what Lamar Jackson does. But I wanted to note this stat here. And I said this earlier on in our show that Lamar Jackson is on pace and a better pace than he is. And he was during his MVP season in 2019. He's got 243 rushing yards through 3 games, as opposed to 172 in his first 3 games in 2019. He's got 12 total touchdowns as opposed to 8 total touchdowns. Like, Lamar Jackson was a unanimous MVP that year in 2019. Unanimous. There was no one close. There was no one on Lamar's level in 2019. And Lamar Jackson is doing better than what he did to start his 2019 campaign. Like, he's on another level. A, pay the man, and B, watch out for another Lamar Jackson MVP type season as the Baltimore Ravens defeat the New England Patriots here in week 3. The next game on our list, it's the Cincinnati Bengals defeating the New York Jets 27-12. This game was more about the Bengals maybe finding their rhythm here. Their offense was clicking. Seemed like they got every wide receiver involved here, from Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Everyone seemed to get involved, but Joe Mixon, thank you for that, and my fantasy team appreciates it so much. But no, the offense was rolling. Everyone was getting involved. You even saw Samaje Perine get involved here. Was this the bounce back game that the Bengals needed here, Aaron?
It was the bounce back team. No. It's crazy because I went into the week saying I expected that offense to be better, and you were kind of down on the Bengals. And then I'll be honest, I come out of this game and I wasn't overly excited about the Bengals. I watched the game and they don't look like a Super Bowl contender to me. They don't. The Jets had a lot of opportunities in that game, settled for field goals. The Bengals defense did what I expected them to do against Joe Flacco, which is play really well. And the Jets defense has been kind of the bright spot for that team. But I wasn't overly impressed with Joe Burrow. I wasn't overly impressed with that offense. Again, they threw 3 touchdowns. Yeah, but Joe Burrow wasn't special. And we anointed him. We anointed him. Most people anointed him. I did not. But we anointed him as the next coming. And he looked like a very above average quarterback. He looks good. He looks like Kirk Cousins at times, but I have yet to see that franchise guy this year. So I am concerned. I have some serious concerns about Cincinnati. going forward, especially when you talk about a team that's going to play a much tougher schedule. Losing to the Steelers, that's my bounce back game. They're playing Joe Flacco. They're young. We expect them not to be that good. Sure, Cincinnati should win that game. I said that. I would have been very disappointed if they didn't.
Well,
now you go play Miami.
That's what I wanted to bring up. You say you did predict them to win this game and all that stuff. And you brought up, you started your little soliloquy there with talking about how I was down on the Bengals here before the game and all that stuff. I thought the Bengals would blow the Jets out. Remember, my score prediction was something similar to this. Like I did think.
No. What I'm saying is that prior to this week, like when we did the power rankings, you argued against the Bengals.
Yeah,
as you should have.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. I have not.
And I'm saying I argued for them, and then coming after watching this game, like my argument for them still stands. Like I still think that offense has to get going, right? Because that's supposed to be the best part of their team, but I wasn't overly impressed. I thought this would be more of a big time win, and I just didn't. It didn't make me move the needle. Like, oh yeah, they're back. You're asking like, was this the get right game? And I'm saying no, it wasn't. Like they didn't do what I expected them to do, and therefore I do have serious concerns.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I also, to bring this up, I didn't have the Bengals making the playoffs this year. Like that was my team. I was worried about not making the playoffs out of everyone that's good in the AFC, especially with how the AFC West has been. And obviously that was before the season. Now it's a little different. But I think this year it's one of those things that like the Bengals have not shown enough. And again, this is another game where we're like the team that won, and this one's a little bit even a bigger win. They won 27-12. We're still down and dogging the Bengals. This is just a team that we're not crazy about. Like it's sure this was a get right game. Maybe this starts the trend and starts building this team to get back on track. But like you said, this is they got the Dolphins next week on Thursday Night Football primetime.
And then they go to Baltimore and then to New Orleans. Like I'm sorry, but right now, if the Bengals went 1-2 in those 3 games, it would not shock me. And if they do go 1-2 in those, that means they're 2-4 after 6 games, and that's not a good look in the AFC. It's not a good look. So I have concerns about the Bengals, but a win does matter. They did what they were supposed to do. They got the win against a good team. Against a bad team like they were supposed to, and They needed it because going 0-3, they would have been completely done. So we'll see where they build from here. They got a short week against a good Miami team. Maybe they luck out and don't have to play Tua. I don't know. But to be honest, I believe in Miami just in general, and they might be able to win with Teddy Bridgewater.
I think this is going to be a huge game for the Bengals, and we'll preview that game on Wednesday's show. The Bengals against the Miami Dolphins to kick off Week 4. My player of the game here was one of the wide receivers that had a good day. It was really a lot of action from these wide receivers this week for the Bengals. I gave the player of the game Tyler Boyd this week, 4 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Out of all the big names, we talk about Jamar Chase so much, talk about T. Higgins so much. Tyler Boyd can fly under the radar sometimes, and in this game, he was the best receiver and the best player on the field. I thought 105 yards again and a touchdown for Tyler Boyd. He is my player of the game. Any takeaways for the Jets before we move on? I think this is
Garrett Wilson's really good. He's going to be an excellent receiver in the NFL. But it's Joe Flacco, and I get it. He threw for it. He's got a comeback win, but he's a veteran. His upside is going to be capped. You are looking for your franchise guy. Zach Wilson's got to get on the field. He's got to stay healthy. And he's got to start to progress towards being that franchise guy if the Jets want to make this youth movement actually turn into something.
Yep. Next game on our list. It is the Philadelphia Eagles defeating the Washington Commanders 24-8. We got a safety in this game from the Commanders that bumped their score up to 8. But other than that, it was a good performance from the Philadelphia Eagles to win 24-8. Jalen Hurts had a very good day. The defense looked good. I thought that was a big bright spot for the Eagles here. Something I want to talk about though before we get into your takes here. Are you concerned at all for the Eagles offense not performing in the second half of games? I mean, we saw it against the Lions where they struggled in the second half. We saw it this week against the Commanders where they struggled in the second half, where there really just wasn't much going on. It's something that they have done. They've scored 24 first half points in 3 straight games. Like that's the thing. So they didn't score a single point after that in this game. And is that concerning at all?
No.
Okay.
No, not teams let off the gas. That it happens. You can get complacent. They did put up 14 points in the second half of that Lions game. So it was in the third quarter, but I think they get a little complacent. I think part of the issue is they are not a very good just turn around and hand the football off team. Like their run game is the best in football, right? We know that, but part of it is because of Jalen Hurts' ability to escape. If they just line up under center and need to milk the clock away, the run game is designed a little bit different. So when teams know you're ahead and you're trying to run the football, and they're going to play defense differently, and I think that's what's happened here. But no, I don't. Not seriously. I don't have any concerns if it continues. And they start giving up leads, or if they're not scoring as much in the first half and still struggling to score in the second half, where teams are adjusting and they are not, that could be an issue. But I'm not really seeing that yet, so I'm not overly concerned about that.
Were you impressed with the Eagles' defense? You have been known on this show to talk, to have your questions, you're not dogging them, you're not hating on them, but you want to see it from this defense. And so far, they've had their secondary played phenomenal against the Vikings last week on Monday Night Football. This week, it seemed like their pass rush was looking good with 9 sacks on Carson Wentz. Are you starting to get impressed with the Philadelphia Eagles defense?
Yeah, a little bit. I still want them to play an offense that I see as a good offense. I'm not saying Minnesota's offense isn't good, but that I live up to my standard. And this is just a me thing. I will be interested to see how they play, and I don't know when they play that. Matter of fact, I don't know that they play a good offense for a while, if at all this year. So maybe we don't really get that answer if they can continue to put up games like this. I don't think they have many high-powered offenses on their schedule. So, but as of right now, when you give up 8 points and you give up 7 points, and yeah, you have to be impressed. So I am impressed with the defense. They're putting pressure on the quarterback. Anytime you can record 9 sacks in a game, that's a big deal. So yeah, Philly, I told you, was one of my teams that's moving up. I believe they're a good football team. I believe they are a playoff team at this point. It's really now about, are you contending with the top teams, and can you make that Super Bowl run? And I think that's what we're going to assess here over the next 5 or 6 weeks.
I think the Eagles took a nice step forward into solidifying themselves as an elite offense in this game. We saw a breakout performance, not a breakout performance like for career, but this season a breakout performance from Devontae Smith, who is my player of the game. 12 targets, 8 receptions, 169 yards, and a touchdown in this game. It's been a lot of A.J. Brown talk to start the season, who A.J. Brown still had a great day as well. But Devontae Smith in this game was special. He was getting open. We saw exactly what we all had hoped for Devontae Smith as like the player coming out of college from Alabama. He was explosive. He was playmaking. That's what we saw in this game against the Eagles, where he was going up, getting jump balls, making plays for this Philadelphia Eagles offense. And this is huge. I think this is going to go a long way for me with this offense now, with the rushing attack being arguably the best in the NFL. And now you see A.J. Brown, 5 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Devontae Smith doing what he did. Dallas Goedert got in the end zone. Like this offense is very good. This offense is starting to really climb up my ranks for best offense in the league. Obviously not best offense in the league, but I think it has a shot right up there, at least top 5 in the league in terms of offenses. I think that's what we're seeing here. On the Commanders side, any takeaways from them? Is it just status quo with them?
Yeah, it's Carson Wentz. There was one point in this game, the Washington Commanders had 40 total yards, and Devontae Smith had like 160. Like, yep. Some crazy number like that. Listen, I'm not here to bash Carson Wentz anymore. Like, you guys know what I feel about Carson Wentz. And Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel, J.D. McKissick, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, first-round draft pick, Logan Thomas is back. We talk about putting weapons around the quarterback. This was the argument. He didn't have weapons in Philly. Moved to Indianapolis. Well, he only has Michael Pittman, but he has the best running back in football, best offensive line, great defense. But he just doesn't have enough weapons to throw to. Like, it's not Carson Wentz. Now he comes to Washington, and they have a ton of weapons on Washington. Like, the players on Washington, I'm telling you, if you put those players on other teams, Jahan Dotson's, the Terry McLaurin's, the Curtis Samuels, Antonio Gibson, the Brian Robinson's not even, he'll be back soon. J.D. McKissick is that good out of the backfield. There's no excuse. You are supposed to elevate this team, and you are just like every other guy. You're Taylor Heineke, but with red hair. I'm over it. I'm over it. Can we just please stop with the Carson Wentz is going to be something? He's not. He's not. I don't care that he threw 3 touchdowns last week in a loss. Like, he's not anything. Like, at the end of the day, 9 sacks as a quarterback is not acceptable. No matter what your offensive line is like, throw the ball away. Do something. Don't throw it to the other team. Make your team better. I don't know. Something. It's
something, anything. Give us more. Give us something, Carson Wentz.
Where's all those Washington Commanders people that were on YouTube in the offseason telling me that this was going to change their team? That's all. I just find it real funny that everybody's afraid after they make these stupid takes to come and be vocal about it after they're wrong. I'm here every day, and I'm going to continue to say that for all the fans. I'm here every day. When I'm wrong, come tell me. When I'm right, I want to see you. I want to see you.
I want to see you.
I want to see you.
And
I don't see Washington fans anywhere right now. Where's Dante?
Ooh.
Where's Dante? I know Dante not a huge fan of Carson Wentz, but I'm just saying, like, this guy, there's a reason why he's had a turd on his head since he's been in Washington.
Put in Sam Howell. Start that train right now. Put in Sam Howell. Start building towards the future.
They should have just traded for Jimmy G in the offseason, like the report said.
Yeah.
Not that it would have been much better, but hey.
No, not at all. The next game on our list, it is the Carolina Panthers defeating the New Orleans Saints 22-14. This is a game that I did not predict right. That's for sure. I thought the Saints would win this game, but it was the Panthers who saved Matt Rule's job for another day. I saw the post-game locker room celebration where Matt Rule's talking to his guys, and I can't help but think to myself, he's just saying in his head, thank you guys for saving my ass for another day. The streak will live on. I will stay the coach. But the Carolina Panthers did it. They got the job done. Whether a win is a win against the New Orleans Saints, this might be a trend this week where, like, the teams that win are not even talked about, like, in the sense of, oh, they did phenomenal. It's more of like, what's wrong with them or what's wrong with the losing team. It's like, that's what I feel like is with the Saints here. The Saints are a team that we both were very high on at the beginning of the season. We were both very high on, and I can say right now I'm not feeling good about my pick with the Saints being where they were. I would love to go back on that now, seeing what they've been doing in this. And what's wrong with the New Orleans Saints, Aaron?
So many things. Offensively, they just look out of sync. They're not really sure what they want to be on offense, and I think that's offense is so. Excuse me. It's so much about identity, knowing what you want to be, and I don't know that they know what they want to be. When they had Drew Brees, they knew exactly what kind of offense they were. When Sean Payton was there, he knew what kind of offense they were. And despite them having the same, Pete Carmichael's offensive coordinator and everything still kind of being the same, they're not sure what type of offense. Are they a run first team? Are they a pass first team? What do they want to do? And I think it's just a lack of identity, and they don't really know what they want to be. To me, they need to get back to that physical style of football, starting with the run game with Ingram and Kamara, and finding ways to get Kamara the ball in space. And they haven't done a good job of that, because as Kamara goes, this offense goes. And I can say that till I'm blue in the face, and I get it. He had 15 carries and a fumble, and he didn't play well, but you as an offensive coordinator or offensive mind have to find ways to get him in the best advantageous situations. And we all know Alvin Kamara is not a guy that you just give 15 carries to that run right at the defensive line and expect him to be good. Like, get him in space, and they haven't done a good job of that. I'm very, very, very disappointed in the Saints. And as of right now, I was wrong about them. Like, defensively, I still believe in them. I think they're a strong defense. I know they gave up 22 points, but when you turn the football over, it happens, right?
That's what happens.
But I mean, they were able to hold Christian McCaffrey. I mean, anytime Christian McCaffrey gets 25 carries and add 2 catches, you expect a huge day from him, and he was pretty regular, right? He still got 100 yards, but he was a regular Christian McCaffrey. So I thought their defense was fine. They held Baker to under 50% completion percentage. Another terrible game. Another terrible game for Baker. So Bailey, stay the hell out of my comments about Baker Mayfield.
Let's just stop with this Baker Mayfield stuff. That's the thing. That's the thing at this point. Let's just stop with the Baker Mayfield stuff. It's just it. That's
170 yards and 11.3 quarterback rating. Get out of here. Where he's managed, and I'm sorry, but now I'm irritated. He's managed to make DJ Moore a worse player than when he was with Sam Darnold, PJ Wright or whatever, PJ Walker, Cam Newton, all the other quarterbacks in Carolina. He's actually made DJ Moore worse. And I don't know how that's possible. So Baker Mayfield is definitely not it. We need to stop with that. But yeah, something ain't right with the New Orleans Saints, and they need to figure it out ASAP.
Yeah, no, that's it right there. That's it with the Saints. Like Baker Mayfield is. Hey, I do want to say this. Shout out Laviska Shenault in this game. Okay, two receptions, 90 yards, and touchdown. But there was another wide receiver, and I feel like the Saints are just continuing to make you look wrong here. Like the Saints are continuing to make you look wrong. That's what I said.
Why?
Because the player of the game, although in the losing effort, Chris Olave.
No. Hell no. Bring me
8 receptions, 169 yards, and a tutty in this game for Chris Olave.
You right now, you are going to make me so mad because you are either doing this on purpose or you are technically a YouTube identical person. Like, I'm sorry. When we look at these games, we got to stop giving player of the game or saying this person had a great game because they were down by 30. This is not fantasy football. If you want to have this conversation on Wednesday or Tuesday about Chris Olave has some fantasy football value now because Michael Thomas is out, Jarvis is out, and he's going to get 83 targets or 10 targets a game, and he's going to produce, sure. We could talk about fantasy football and how I was wrong about Chris Olave. But from an NFL impact on a game perspective, stop. He had 0 impact on that football game because as he was catching all these balls, they were still getting their ass whooped. This is about volume. This is about nobody else to throw to. So he's on the field and he's a recipient of that. This is Matt Collins filling in for Hunter Renfrow type shit. Like, you're going to get targets. I get it. But where was the big play that he needed to help his team win? Like, I watch these games and I'm watching these receivers
when that happened.
I'm watching these receiver run routes and I'm watching everything that's guaranteeing I'm catching some balls. I'm guaranteeing it right now. Like, that's part of what he's supposed to do. He's a first-round draft pick. But to come on here and put him as a player of the game in the game that they really got their ass whooped and blown out, that's just, honestly, that's disrespectful to the Carolina Panthers, and I will not have it. You should have found somebody on the Panthers. Laviska Shenault had an impact play. He had an impact play in that game, and we're going to sit here and argue about Chris Olave. Put Laviska Shenault as the player of the game because that play changes the game. That play goes and was not just, I caught it and I didn't do anything. I was wide open. He caught it. He made a move. He did what Laviska Shenault we expected before. That was an impact play. Chris Olave is nobody's player of the game. Nobody's. 13 targets because every receiver on their team got hurt. Traquan Smith got hurt. Michael Thomas got hurt. And Jarvis Landry got hurt. Yeah, so you gave it to – get out of here. Get out of here. I'm done. I am not going to sit here in one game that Chris Olave breaks out because I believe I'm right when I said he will have games like that. And I told you guys that. He will have – those games will happen. Show me when he can do it consistently and he has an impact on winning. That's when I'll say Chris Olave is it. Until then, keep pushing with that shit.
I will keep pushing your buttons. That's what I will keep doing. Shout out Chris Olave, big game here. But also shout out the Panthers for getting the job done and getting that dub here. Are the Panthers 2-1 or they're 1-2? They're
1-2. And Baker Mayfield is terrible.
Baker Mayfield is straight trash. Next game on our list.
Oh, God.
It's the Jacksonville Jaguars defeating the Los Angeles Chargers 38-10. Shout out Duval. Shout out Jacksonville. Shout out Trevor Lawrence. Shout out Doug Peterson. All right, now we can restart.
Shout out Aaron Hughes. There you go.
Well, no, that ain't a thing. But
that's not a thing. It's not a thing. Do I got to go find the clip?
No. I am sitting on like the worst chair. This is the worst.
My ass hurts on this chair too.
It's not like I'm on a stool because like it's just a mess over here. It's the worst.
Let's talk about this game. What do you want to ask me?
Let's talk about this game. So the Jacksonville Jaguars defeated the Los Angeles Chargers 38-10, pulling off the upset here in a game that a lot of people picked the Los Angeles Chargers here, including myself, going against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got the job done when it mattered in a game that was not very close. Aaron, how much of this is on Justin Herbert being injured? Like, are we factoring that in here when we look at this 38-10 win for the Jags?
Nope, I'm not. I don't care. Okay. I don't care if Justin Herbert was not 100%. If he wasn't 100%, don't play him. If you didn't think that he could help you win the game, don't play him. If you're stepping on the football field, I expect you to be the player that you're supposed to be. And let's be honest, Justin Herbert, if you look at the box score, still threw for 300 yards. Touchdown and a pick. Didn't play well, right? But offensively, they didn't play well. This is about the Chargers being not as good as people thought. And I don't know who said it, but I think there was one guy who said it. Oh, yeah, his name was Aaron. That's right. Who had the Chargers, by the way, missing the playoffs. The Chargers have explosive weapons. The Chargers have great names. The Chargers have everything you look at. Man, that's flashy. That's what it's supposed to be. But we always say this about the Chargers. And there's just something that's not right. And I'll tell you right now, number one, they can't run the football. You can't run the football. You can't win in this league. I don't care how good your quarterback is. If you don't have the guys up front to run the football and establish dominance in the run game and protect your passer, you cannot win. The NFL has never changed. The change has been the quarterbacks and the receiver, but there's one thing that's never changed. This game is ultimately won on the offense and defensive line. That is what is ultimately the success of an NFL football team. And right now, their offensive line has not played well, and they just lost Rashawn Slater. Like 12 carries for 26 yards. Are you serious? With Austin Eckler in your backfield, Sony Michel, who's had success running, you drafted what's the guy you thought was going to be something?
Isaiah
Spiller, and you get nothing out of your run game against a Jaguars team who, yes, I did say they were going to make the biggest jump defensively, but you're at home. They traveled all the way to LA, and this is the performance you get. The Chargers, another disappointing team to start this season. 1-2 is not going to cut it. I get you lost to the Chiefs. That's okay. But the way they've looked offensively is not the team that's going to compete with the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just not. And defensively, you give up 38 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Trevor Lawrence, who is a second-year quarterback, made you look like Swiss cheese. I thought he was, oh my God, it might have been my best line, and I went blank. I felt like Trevor Lawrence was back at Clemson playing against Western Chattanooga State or something, the way he shredded this defense. So I'm sorry, Chargers fans, everybody that, oh man, they're going to win the AFC West. They're better than the Chiefs. But this is what I'm talking about. Stop looking at your paper rosters and thinking that translates to the field all the time. The Chargers have a problem. Jacksonville is a team that is coming, and we've said it, they're coming. And Doug Peterson has made that franchise a completely different organization right now, and shout out to them for what they were able to do on the road in LA.
Any concerns about the injuries with the Los Angeles? Like I know you're talking about like the Los Angeles Chargers playing bad football and disappointing, or playing exactly how you thought they would technically, but they lose Joey Bosa in this game. No J.C. Jackson on their defense. None of that matters, right? None of that.
It matters from the standpoint of you're like, oh, that sucks. But the thing about the NFL is, man, every team deals with injuries, man. At every level, at every position. Dallas just lost their quarterback and played with Cooper Rush against the defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. And they won the game. Like, find a way to win the game. That's all that matters. And the Jacksonville is supposed to be an inferior team. Like, I'm not even here to knock Jacksonville because you know how I feel about where they're going. But they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be Jacksonville, whether it's with Justin Herbert or Chase Daniels, really. And Justin Herbert played. I get Keenan wasn't there. I get Joey Bosa wasn't there. But you still got Khalil Mack, right? You still got an all-pro pass rusher. You don't have J.C. Jackson, but you still got Asante Samuel, who's a really good corner. You still got Derwin James back there. Why we can't keep having excuses for why teams aren't doing things. Every team has injuries. I can go to every team in the league right now. They're missing some sort of key piece or pieces, and they're finding a way to get it done. Or they're not, and they don't get the excuse that oh, my guy was hurt. Well, no, you don't. Oh, well, that's why you have 53 guys on the roster. It's not, you got to have depth. It matters. That's part of being a football team. So no, I was very disappointed in what the Chargers were doing. Like, not that they even lost. It's the way they lost. They got their ass kicked, start to finish. Like, the entire game, Jacksonville said, nah, we're better than you. Like, that's basically what they said. Now, we're a better football team than you are. And right now, it's hard to argue that the Chargers are better than the Jaguars. And I know they'll probably be ahead of my power rankings or whatever, but it's going to be hard for me to do that. And I don't normally look at head-to-head, but Jacksonville beat the shit out of them and out-physicaled them. They slapped them around and said, we are like your big brother. And that's sad. That's sad. Like, that game was very, very disheartening if you're a Chargers fan.
No, I agree.
I know you love it.
No, honestly, I'm trying to keep myself grounded in this moment because I do think that they're like, that's what I'm trying to get at here is like, as a fan of the Jacksonville you can obviously clearly see I'm a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I'm also a prominent member of the media. We're kind of a big deal when it comes to being the media. And with that comes a responsibility of us. And you do this as well with your Cowboys, is you have to stay grounded. You have to stay even. You have to stay honest with yourselves. And with this team, I'm trying to stay honest with myself. Like, yes, they did blow out the Los Angeles Chargers in this game. They won 38-10, but it's on to next week. They play the Eagles next week. That is going to be another real challenge for this team. That is another prove-it game for the Jacksonville Jaguars to see if they are more legit than we thought they would be. But it was a great game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, we talked about it, and I'm going to give you the floor again. I know you just went in on the Chargers, but the Jacksonville Jaguars defense in this game looked great. Like, whether there was no Keenan Allen, there was no Justin Herbert, but this is the same team that played the Kansas City Chiefs close. They didn't have Keenan Allen in that game. Justin Herbert was hurt in that game. Well, he got hurt towards the end of the game, but he was banged up in that game. So it's like you pretty much had the same team, same offense there. And what the Jacksonville Jaguars defense did was impressive. What impressed you the most about the Jaguars defense?
Is they're keeping teams out of the end zone. Like, we very, very similar to the Buffalo Bills conversation is, number one, they're taking advantage of their opportunities. And I think that's important. Whenever you can create turnovers, that's always going to help your defense. Sudden change matters. But they're playing free and they're keeping teams out of the end zone. They gave up 300 yards in this game. And most of that was obviously kind of probably garbage points later, whatever. But it's just about keeping teams out of the end zone. If I can hold you to a touchdown and a field goal a game, I got a good chance to win. If my offense isn't even great, I have a good chance to win. And they're right now they're a top 5 defense, I believe, in the NFL as far as points per game, only giving up 12 points per game. And I know they had the shutout last week, but they've played against offenses that we thought highly of. The Colts offense, we did think highly of to start the year in their running game. Now the Chargers offense. So they're not afraid of these teams that are supposed to be better than them. And I think that's important. They're young, they're playing fast, and Doug Peterson seems to have a really good hold on the identity of this football team. And I mentioned identity earlier. It matters. When you know what you are as a football team and you know what you want to do, it's so much easier to be successful. They run the football. They have James Robinson, who's, I'm going to be honest, it hasn't been the most efficient running game, but they stay with it. And what happens? Then you get a big play. But it's been a couple of games now where it's been like James Robinson's been like 3.5, 20, 3.5, 50. And that's what matters. Like, at the end of the day, you look at the numbers, they look great, but it's because they're staying with it. They're focused on, like, we know what we want to do. We know how we want to put Trevor Lawrence in the best situation to succeed. And we're doing that. And then you get guys making plays because everybody is confident. Christian Kirk making plays, Zay Jones making plays, guys that there were question marks about, oh, why are they signing this guy? Why are they signing that guy? And all offseason, I kept saying, these are good signings. Like, these are players that can help you win football games. Not everything has to be Devontae Adams, the biggest name out in the market. You have to find guys that fit, and that's what's important. And Doug Peterson has done a good job of that. Remember, his team with the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl. LeGarrette Blount, Alshon Jeffrey was there. Nick Foles. Like, it wasn't a team full of names. It was a team full of guys that fit together, and they knew who they were. And it started with the running game. They got their running game going. The defense stepped up, and the Jaguars' defense, by the way, is loaded with young talent. Now, they're not all great players, but from a talent perspective, when you talk about Devin Lloyd, Aluakon, Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, who I saw in pass coverage yesterday doing his thing. The corners and Tyson Campbell, Devin Lloyd, like they have
that Devin Lloyd jersey is in the mail, by the way. That Devin Lloyd jersey is ordered and in the mail.
They have dogs on defense that are young and talented, but inexperienced. And that inexperience, when it starts to turn into experience, that's a scary, scary thing. And I'll say it again. I thought the biggest jump from last year to this year of any defensive unit in football would come from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And through 3 games, I think you can honestly say that's the case.
Yep. So shout out the Jags. I did. You talked about it. I kind of wanted to roll through it here. Zay Jones was my player of the game. 11 targets, 10 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown in this game. Very reliable, very consistent. The leading wide receiver for this team in a big blowout game. Another guy that this is a guy that fits your description right there, where it was you sign these guys, you give them these bigger deals, and you're like, oh, why do they do that? Well, it's games like this against a playoff team like playoff contending team like the Chargers, and you have a big game like this. Big time credit to Zay Jones in this game. Big time credit to the Jacksonville Jaguars for getting the job done on the road. First win in Los Angeles as a first win in Los Angeles as a franchise. First time, this is a little fun note. This is what I'll end it on. So this is the first time since 2000 the Jaguars have won back-to-back games by 20-plus points. The last time they did that in 2000, one of those wins came against the Cleveland Browns. You know, it was on that team for the Cleveland Browns who did throw a pass in that game. Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson was the quarterback in that game. So Jacksonville Jaguars take this one big against the Chargers. The next game on our list, it's the Los Angeles Rams defeating the Arizona Cardinals 20-12. This where do I go with this game? Because this seemed like both teams did not jump off the page to me again. Like, I'm waiting for these two teams to jump off the page to me like that they're supposed to. Am I wrong for thinking this?
No, I agree with you. I think this has been lackluster performances now for the most part from both of these teams all year long. The Rams have not looked good. Like, I know they get the wins, but there's something that's not right about them. I do want to point out, guys, Cooper Kupp is human. I know he had the 20-yard touchdown run on that end around, which was terrible defense, but 4 for 44. So, guys, he is capable of having a bad day, just like every other player in the NFL when it comes from a receiving standpoint. But yeah, neither offense looked good, and I was impressed with Arizona's defense for the most part, to be honest, in this one. And that's a couple of weeks now in a row where they've turned on the defense a little bit better, especially since the second half of that Raider game. But this game was ugly. No running game. The offensive lines were bad. Arizona's just broken. The only player on Arizona that stood out to me was Hollywood Brown. Had a really good game. He played well. And I know it didn't result in much, but they kept giving him space. And I don't know what the Rams were doing there, but they kept giving him space, and like they were scared of his speed, and he took advantage of it. So I was really excited for Hollywood Brown. But for the most part, this is just two ugly teams playing ugly. Like, there was nothing that was impressive to me here. Neither team can run the football. Neither team can block. And that's going to be a problem as we get later in the season if they don't get it fixed.
Yeah. And in this game, a game full of really not much going on. We did get to see Cooper Kupp get his first career rushing touchdown. And we also got to see Aaron Donald reach 100 career sacks in his 130th career game. He's the second defensive tackle to ever reach 100-plus career sacks in NFL history and the fastest defensive tackle to ever accomplish that feat. So shout out Aaron Donald for being arguably the best defensive player, not just in the game, but of all time. In this game itself, though, so our concerns are still there with the Cardinals and the Rams, right? Like there's nothing, the needle did not move in one way or another for either of these teams, right?
I'm less excited about the Rams over the last 2 weeks than I was. I thought they would be okay. They're going to be okay. They're going to win enough games because they're a good team, but I'm concerned about them long term.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm concerned with both these teams. I think that the concerns are there. The concerns are rising. It's tough. Kyler Murray continues to struggle against against the Los Angeles Rams, being one of the worst teams that he faces, his production being one of the worst in his career. I did give the player of the game to Cam Akers in this game. Obviously, the Rams did pull off the win, and he was productive in this game. 12 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown. He was productive towards the end. He really didn't start the game that well, and he didn't look phenomenal. Like, I had to pick somebody, basically, and Cam Akers is the guy, okay?
I don't get why sometimes you pick player of the games, and like you gave Chris Olave the player of the game, and he lost. And then you didn't give it to Hollywood Brown, who had 10 for 140.
I gave this one.
Get that.
Really, I gave this one to Cam Akers because he's starting to do what we want him to do. Like he's starting to produce. That's what.
Yeah, but that wasn't from. That's not where you're mixing fantasy football.
I was grasping for straws. Okay, in this game to find.
I'm just
a player
saying,
of the game.
Be consistent. You know how I am about consistency.
If
there's nobody to pick, then you should have picked Hollywood Brown.
I was consistent. I picked who I wanted to pick. That's how consistent I was here.
I don't know who gave you the control of this player of the game, but it's terrible.
now that you don't do play of the game, you could take that if you want. I'm totally fine with you taking player of the game from me. That's perfectly fine.
No. I just like to argue with you after you make it because
exactly it brings more fun. Okay, so the Rams defeat the Arizona Cardinals here. The next game on our list, it's the Atlanta Falcons defeating the Seattle Seahawks 27-23 in this game. We saw what did we see? What did you learn? What was your takeaway from this game from these two teams who we both said at the beginning of this that they're both on the same almost on the same level where they're both rebuilding, they're both on the up and up, they're both trying to figure themselves out. What did we learn from these two teams on Sunday?
Geno Smith's going to be a much better quarterback at home than he is on the road. I think that was the big thing that was pointed out to me. Atlanta's a much better football team when Cordero Patterson is getting the football. I think that was pretty clear as well. That we could pump the brakes on Kyle Pitts not being good because Kyle Pitts is really good and he'll be fine.
Yep.
And that DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are still good football players and are going to have a role in the offense as we expected. I think those are all pretty much the same thing. And I think these two teams at the end of the day are two bad football teams. Like they just are. The Seahawks struggle to run the football and that's going to hurt them all year long. They ran it a little bit better against Atlanta, but still not enough to me. I don't know why Geno Smith is ever throwing the ball 44 times ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
It ended up being costly to them at the end of the game, where Geno Smith did throw the game losing interception. But I think I want to give credit to the consistency and the good production from Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons in this game. 3 receptions, 54 yards, and another touchdown. This is his second straight game with a receiving touchdown, his third straight game with 50-plus receiving yards. Drake London has been good for this Atlanta Falcons team and being exactly what they'd hoped he'd be when they drafted him high in this past year's draft. The player of the game here, hopefully I get this one right, was Cordero Patterson. Hard to go with anyone else but going with Cordero Patterson in this one. 17 carries, 153 total yards, a touchdown. Like you said, you give the ball to Cordero Patterson and good things are going to happen and wins are going to happen if you're the Atlanta Falcons now, who moved to 1-2 after this game. Cordero Patterson is his fourth career 100-yard rushing game. He averaged over 8 yards per carry in this game. That's unreal. Like that's quite the stat right there. Cordero Patterson's good. Red alert. Cordero Patterson is good. And you win games when you give the ball to Cordero Patterson. The next game on our list. The next game on our list is, I don't know if I did or not. The next game on our list, I could have swore I spelled it. How did I spell it?
You didn't put the 2 L's.
Is it 2 L's? I thought it was.
Yeah, okay. Don't mind the 2 E's at the end. That's the typo. It should be 2 L's.
No, sir. You spelled it wrong. All right. The next game on our list, we got 2 more left to go, and this one is a big one. The Green Bay Packers defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 14-12 in a game that, exactly went exactly how we thought it would. 14-12 between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Maybe the 12 part from Tom Brady because his offense was led by Scotty Miller, Cole Beasley, Russell Gage fumbling the ball and looking bad. It wasn't a good showing from the weapons of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is what I'm getting at. But the Packers, either way, were able to get the job done, 14-12. What were your takeaways from this defensive battle?
Number one, I just think you're very disrespectful as a host.
Stop it.
You are.
I'm not disrespectful. I'm honest.
You are very disrespectful. You bashed Russell Gage, and then in a minute you're going to praise Romeo Doubs, who Russell Gage had a better game than outside of the fumble.
No, stop it.
What do you
stop
mean? No?
It.
What do you
Stop
mean?
It. That was not a thing. Russell
Gage had 12 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown.
Exactly, but Romeo Doubs.
And what are you going to say?
Romeo Doubs was more efficient in this game. 8 receptions, 73 yards.
What does efficient mean to you, Vinny?
Averaging 9.1 yards per reception versus averaging 7.3 yards per reception. Both had a touchdown. God. And guess what? Romeo Doubs is more effective with less targets. That's what I'm saying. He was 8 targets, 8 receptions. He was consistent all around there. Last time I checked, Romeo Doubs did not have a fumble lost in this game. In a game that's 14-12. 14-12, a close game like this, and your Russell Gage fumbling the ball, you can't do that. You can't do that. So, yes, Romeo Doubs had the better game because it did not cost this team a victory.
It's not that. So let me make myself very clear. This isn't about Romeo Doubs because what it is it's about you going to praise Romeo Doubs because of his numbers when you don't even have a clue what you're actually talking about.
I just what do you mean I don't have a clue? I literally just presented to you exactly what I'm talking about.
You bashed the entire Tampa Bay wide receiving core, and Russell Gage was the only one that produced, the only one that even showed up and did anything.
That's fine, but he also was one of the reasons why they lost them that game. Russell Gage cannot
Stop. No, you're not going to point out Russell Gage is the reason they lost this football game.
I said one of the reasons why they lost this game.
Hell no.
Yes.
We are not doing that today. We are not doing that today. We are not box score. We're not box score sallying this game.
I just did it.
We are not. We're not box score sallying this game because what I'm about to talk about right now, everybody's going to be like, what? Huh? Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers don't matter in this game. They don't matter. Aaron Rodgers, first of all, played great. You're going to look at his numbers. You're going to look at 14 points. Aaron Rodgers played absolutely great in this football game. But yet, you won't give them any credit because they only scored 14 points, and it doesn't look good in the box score. This is the NFL. Not every team can go out every week and drop 35 points. Josh Allen just scored very little points against the Miami Dolphins, and we would all sit here and praise Josh Allen for everything he did. But Aaron Rodgers only scores 14 points, and the quarterbacks didn't play well. This was an ugly game. No. Aaron Rodgers played great in this game. And they won the football game. Russell Gage he caught a pass and fumbled. It happens. That's the NFL. You want to know how many times Romeo Doubs probably didn't run the right route? That doesn't show up in the box score. That's what I'm talking about. We are very surface level talking about this right now, and we got to stop doing that. This is 2 really good defenses, arguably the 2 best defenses in all of football, and they made it very, very difficult for the offenses in this game. We're not bashing Aaron Jones today. because he played like shit, dropped a fumble. We're not bashing A.J. Dillon today because he didn't do anything. Don't pick and choose when you want to bash players based on a box score because you want to hype up somebody else on the other side. Because I didn't even let you get to it, but you were going to laud and praise Romeo Doubs for all he did.
Damn
but
right I'm going to praise Romeo Doubs,
You
man.
shouldn't, though. You shouldn't.
He had a great game, and guess what? Guess what? Let's do this. Let's do this here. He's my player of the game, okay? 8 targets, 8 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown for Romeo Doubs, a.k.a. Romeo Doubs. He had a great game. He had a good good game. I'll choose my words wisely so I don't upset the masses here. He had a good game in this game. He was consistent. He was Tom Brady's number 1 wide receiver in this game. He was productive. He was effective. He definitely scored. He's a rookie.
He definitely wasn't Tom Brady's number 1 weapon.
Yes, he was.
Tom Brady, he's not even on Tom Brady's team, Vinny. Stop. See, you have emotional.
Aaron Rodgers.
You don't even know the names.
Aaron Rodgers. Sorry.
Nobody said that Romeo Doubs didn't have a good game. My issue is when you start trying to put one here and one way down here because you like one more than the other.
I like Russell Gage. I was very high on.
No. It's not about Russell Gage. It's about you want to be so right about Romeo Doubs that you're going to inflate what his value was to that football game, and you're going to diminish
Romeo Doubs'
else.
value in that game here. Russell Gage value in that game here.
Okay, but that's not what you said when you started. That's the reason I came at you is because you were like, Russell Gage didn't do shit, Brashard Perriman didn't do shit, Scotty Miller didn't do shit, Cole Beasley didn't, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean Russell Gage didn't do shit? Russell Gage was the only player on that offense that actually did something.
I said struggled.
So one fumble is struggle, but you didn't mention playoff Lenny. That's my point. Lenny. That's my point because you like Leonard Fournette, you gloss over that and you will go to something else.
I just because
you didn't say it though. You didn't say it.
Okay, sorry. Hold on. Let's rewind here. Hold on. I got this. Hold on here. Okay, let me try and perfect.
No, I just want you to.
The Green Bay Packers defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 14-12. The entire Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense played like shit. Leonard Fournette, Brashard Perriman, Cameron Brate, Jalen Darden, Kyle Rudolph, Cole Beasley, Scotty Miller, everyone but Russell Gage played like shit.
You've already proven where you're at, where your mind goes. It's a subconscious thing that you do automatically.
Subconscious.
It
Get out of here, Dr. Phil. Fuck out of here.
Every game, I will tell you, anytime it's Jackson, me and AJ have talked about this. Anytime it's Jacksonville or players that you like, if they have a bad game, you gloss over them. You won't talk about them.
I have no problem talking about
you're
Leonard
not listening.
Fournette having a bad game.
You're not listening. I'm not saying that you actually have a problem with talking about it. Your subconscious mind does not say it.
It's so false.
My God. You're going to make me want to go clip things. It is not. It is so true.
No.
Everybody has biases. It's like my bias with Zeke. It's hard for me to point out when Zeke is not doing what he's supposed to be doing because I have a bias towards Zeke. Everybody has biases. You have them. You just don't notice them.
I'm perfect. Romeo Doubs had a great game. Russell Gage sucks. The Bucs suck. I'm kidding. Really,
defensively, this was a very defensive game. Actually, it is what I kind of expected after thinking about the offensive weapons that these teams both really do lack, especially on the outside. It did not shock me, but I also wasn't surprised that the Packers got away with the win. I think the Packers are a better football team. And I was impressed. Like I said, I was impressed with their ability to go on the road and get the win. And I thought Aaron Rodgers played great despite his interception.
The thing is, I don't have that many. This game was what it was. Like, I don't think that these are two teams that we know are going to be most likely in the playoffs at the end of the year. And if they play in the postseason, then it matters. Like this game here. Tight game, could be the last time Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers ever match up if they don't meet in the playoffs. And Tom Brady's actually done this year, or Aaron Rodgers is actually.
They've only matched up 5 times in their entire career. 3 now it's 3-2. Tom Brady 3, Aaron Rodgers 2.
Oh, okay, all right, and Tom Brady also when it matters, like when it has the one win when it matters, the NFC Championship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the biggest one where it matters. But okay, so any other real takeaways from this game?
I thought both offenses had trouble moving the ball against 2 really good defenses at times. it didn't shock me as I'm getting a call from Full Sail as we're in the middle of the show. I don't know why. It's one of their career building things, probably asking me what my job's doing. But yeah, so no, I think this is two of the best teams in the NFC. Probably easily could be a rematch of the NFC Championship game this year. Tampa Bay obviously needs some help though. They need to get healthy. But that's my point. Like, we're not making excuses for Tampa, like the Chargers, right? We're saying, hey, they're going to find ways to win games, and they have. And they're doing it. And they're without their entire interior of offensive line. They're all of their wide receivers. But yet we're not going to make excuses for them. We expect Tom Brady to elevate them and get them where they need to be despite having those injuries. So,
yeah. No, it's they've proven it, and they are really, really banged up. Really, it's unfortunate that this game had to be at this time with the Bucs and where they're at. That we couldn't see it with all the stars shining in Tampa. But either way, the Packers did get the job done. Their defense looked good. 14-12 is the final. Green Bay takes the win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Our final game, this one was, I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm about to say this score. The Denver Broncos defeated the San Francisco 49ers 11-10 last night on Sunday Night Football. Denver was able to get the job done against the Niners. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't look bad or terrible. I don't know how to say it. I don't know what to say for this game. 11-10 in a game where nothing looked good to me. The defenses look good. I shouldn't say that. The defenses showed out. I did really, really like what San Francisco's defense did, and I did really, really like what Denver's defense did. Both made plays, and I will just jump to, as I'm talking about it, my player of the game, sorry if this angers you, was Kareem Jackson in this game, with one of the big turning points of this game being that fumble recovery at the end of the game to seal the deal for the Denver Broncos, along with 6 tackles, a pass deflection. I thought Kareem Jackson was the player of the game in a tough game to find some big highlights. I thought Kareem Jackson was that dude. What were your takeaways from the Sunday Night Football matchup?
I like the idea of he being a defensive player, but there's a couple things I was really excited about this game. Number one, like, I know 11-10 looks like crap and it looks ugly and the offenses didn't play well, but this is what is wrong with today's NFL quote fan. And I'm not speaking about you here, but like, we see a game like 11-10 and Dylan said it in the chat. Oh, this game sucks. I'm turning it off. And it bothered me because, like, we are so enamored with touchdowns and offense that we forget that the defensive players get paid. Like, they are not part of the game. But when it's our team, we love it when the other team doesn't have, any points, right? Like, oh, yeah, when the other team got blown out, that's great. But when both teams are struggling offensively because there's 2 really good defenses, it's a shitty game. I'm sorry. I found the game to be very entertaining because I thought both defenses were really good, and that's the type of football I like. And it's strange coming from a baseball guy and Dylan, who is okay with a no-hitter and 0-0 runs being scored, and that's not a boring game.
We're just watching baseball in general and not thinking it's boring.
No, I mean, stop. Anyways, I'm not going to go that far. But the fact is baseball, there's not a lot of scoring. He's also a hockey fan, and which games are often 5-3, 3-0. Like, there's a lot of.
Let's use that term.
Let me
loosely.
finish. What do you mean loosely? I mean,
Dylan
he's a
being
hockey fan. He is a hockey fan. The fact is, he watches those games. I'm not talking about what he knows about hockey. It's about being a fan. But I don't hear, oh, this game is boring. And so that, honestly, it bothers me as a football guy when people say that, because it shows me that you're not really understanding that the defensive players get paid. They have a job to do. They are just as good at their job as the offensive players. Yeah. I thought the whole defensive line for the Denver Broncos played outstanding. I thought that was the difference in the game. I would have given it to every defensive lineman they had, any pass rusher, Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory, all their guys up front. I thought they did an amazing job in this football game. That was what stood out the most to me. And then I want to get into Jimmy Garoppolo, but I want to let you respond because I know you want to respond.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that, and when I say that I didn't have much to say about this game, and when I did my little intro to it, the defenses were phenomenal in this game. That is fun to watch. The defenses making plays. It's not just interceptions too. It's just stops. I mean, there were combined 17 punts in this game. 17. Like it was just back and forth. Defense is just getting stops. It was just, I truly enjoy what we saw. And a name you didn't mention that I think deserves a little bit more credit that flies under the radar with the Denver Broncos is Josie Jewell. I think he's a great player for this Denver Broncos team. I think he had a phenomenal game here. He was the other player that was up for my player of the game. I almost said defensive player of the game. But he could have easily been it over Kareem Jackson, who Josie Jewell had nine tackles, a sack, 2 quarterback hits, a fumble recovery as well. I mean, game-changing plays all around. So I think it's something that everyone on the Denver Broncos defense played well. I think everyone on the San Francisco 49ers defense played well. So I think that's the highlight of the game to me. Let's go to Jimmy G, though. You want to talk about him. I said he had an okay day. You think it was what do you think about Jimmy G's day?
It was terrible. This was Jimmy Garoppolo, and I've been big on here saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is good enough to win you some regular season games. I lauded for the Cowboys to trade for Jimmy G when Dak got hurt, and the Jets to trade for Jimmy G when Zach Wilson got hurt. But this game was not good, and this is the reason. And for all the 49er fans that were on Facebook arguing with me last night, this is the reason why you move to Trey Lance. And despite whether Trey Lance ends up being it or not, Jimmy G is not it. He can't overcome deficiencies. And there was a couple of arguments that were made, and this might take a while, but a couple of arguments made for Jimmy G about, Trent Williams got hurt, and he's got so many wins. And I said this. I said, when everything is right and perfect around Jimmy G, he's good. He can get the job done. It's what I say about Baker Mayfield. When everything was perfect around him, he was good. But when you ask him to make up for deficiencies on your football team, he can't do it. And Jimmy G did get $100 million back in, I don't know, it was years back. So where he's not on that level anymore, and we know that. But all Niner fans want to talk about, he gets to the Super Bowl and he wins games and all. Cool, that's great. But are you trying to win football games, or are you trying to win Super Bowls? Actually win Super Bowls. So everybody's like, he can win. So I went and I did my research, and I have some numbers here. Since 1986, since the Super Bowl in 1986, only 5 quarterbacks, were either like regular, below average guys that we don't see as potential or already Hall of Famers. 5 since 1986. That's Nick Foles, Joe Flacco, Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer, and Jeff Hostetler. Those are the 5 quarterbacks in NFL since 1986. I didn't want to go back any further. I could have, but you would have started getting into Staubach, and we know those guys are Hall of Famers. 5 since 1986 have actually won a Super Bowl. You know who has won Super Bowls? Matt Stafford, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Big Ben, Kurt Warner, John Elway, Brett Favre, Troy Aikman, Steve Young, Mark Rippon, and Joe Montana. Those are Hall of Famers. Those are Hall of Famers or guys that are still playing that we think at the end of their career are going to be Hall of Famers or potentially be Hall of Famers. So stop with this. My serviceable quarterback can go and win me a Super Bowl, because more times than not, they can't. Yes, there's the outliers. Yes, it happens. Guess what? Maybe one day I will find a briefcase full of money. I'm sure somebody in their life has, but the likeliness is not. So stop with okay.
I always find it funny, those people that rely on like the outlier, like that's the argument in their defense. Like it's like they bring up, it's happened before. Like that's an anomaly. Yeah. Like that is an anomaly. That is an unusual circumstance. It could happen. Not to say like you can't just say it's never going to happen. There is the old cliche term, anything is possible, but that's not a legit. That's not that's not a good stance. That's not a good leg to stand on, basically, in your argument, because if you're relying on a 1 in a million chance, basically. I don't know what the odds are.
Why would you even want to? Like, don't you want sustained success? And I get it. It may take time to find that franchise guy. But the minute, and I say this all the time, the minute you know that you don't have the franchise guy, cut bait. Cut bait. Move on.
Yep.
Move on. And I'm a Cowboy fan. We're getting close with Dak Prescott, because he can't stay healthy now. If he doesn't seem to have success over the next couple of seasons, you know what my rate? Cut him, trade him, move on, find the next guy, because if you don't, You are never going to get that opportunity. The reason the Chiefs win Super Bowls and Patrick Mahomes is that guy is because they're there every year. If you're not getting there every single year and getting those opportunities, then your likeliness of winning one is not high. So being okay with just a good enough quarterback to win you some games and get you to a championship game, I'm not okay with that. I want championships. So don't be afraid to move on to that next guy. And I think that's where my Jimmy G stance is at right now. Yes, he's good enough to win some games. He got you to a couple Super Bowls or a Super Bowl and an NFC Championship game, but he's not good enough to win those games. And if he's not good enough to win, move on.
Yeah. In that game on Sunday, the Niners drive 7 punts, 3 turnovers, 1 touchdown, 1 field goal, and 1 safety. That was their drives on
and
Sunday.
If it wasn't a safety, it was going to be a pick six.
It was going to be a pick six. Yep.
And he missed receivers numerous times. Numerous times he missed receivers. He did not play well. But I've seen Jimmy G do that before. He might have a good game next week, and people will be right back on the Jimmy G train. So,
Are you still giving a pass to Russell Wilson and this offense and the Broncos offense?
Times. I freeze at the best times.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I've never given Russell Wilson and the offense a pass. They don't get a pass. They get respect and saying that I think they can fix the issue the same way I think that Cincinnati could fix the issue.
You can put makeup on a pig. It's still a pig. Go on.
Are you calling Russell Wilson a pig?
No, I'm saying your defense. So you're saying the respect thing. I get it. That's fair. That's fine.
First of all,
that's fair. But at the end of the day,
their offense has not played well as they need to play to win football games. I think there's a lack of chemistry from the play calling to what they want to do offensively. But I also don't want to continue to say the same thing. Like, people do not understand what it's like for a new quarterback and a new coach in a new system. Russell Wilson has played in the shotgun for the past, 7 years. Maybe he hasn't been under center like this since he was young and with the Seahawks winning Super Bowls. So it's a change in his style of offense. It's a new offense. It's a West Coast offense, which is more built on dink and dunk and then make big plays. It's new. So yes, if you want to call it giving a pass, I am patient with this team because as long as they win football games, they can be patient. I don't care if they win by luck, by skill, whatever it is. They're 2-1. They're better than the Chargers. And they may not look the part, but they're 2-1 and the Chargers are not. They're 2-1 and the Raiders are 0-3. So they're in a good position to continue to build, to continue to get better. But yeah, I have some concerns. I have my concerns about this offense. And it just popped up. You sound dumb, Bailey. And I was just flat out saying you sound dumb because yes, you gave Russell Wilson to be in the same offense that Aaron Rodgers was in, which was built on the slant game, dink and dunk, and then take your shots deep. Where Aaron Rodgers has went 13-3, 13-3, 13-3 under the same Nathaniel Hackett offense that he's under now. So you can talk about head coach and time management and all that stuff, but Nathaniel Hackett is a very respected offensive coordinator in the NFL. He might not know how to manage a game. He might not know how to be a head coach. I don't know any of that yet, but I do know that he was very successful as an offensive coordinator in Green Bay. So I'm just going to leave it there. He hired a new guy to deal with all the management stuff because he feels like he's better suited just calling plays. Cool. We'll see how it works out. But I will be patient with Denver as long as they're not losing football games.
Yeah. From 2019 to 2021 with Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson's first 3 games of those years, 71% completion percentage, 300 passing yards per game. In 2022 this year, below 60% and below 250 passing yards per game for Russell Wilson. It's not been a hot start for this new look offense for the Broncos, but I do like your take when it comes to the fact that they're in a prime spot. Like they're 2-1. That's still a good record to have. They're up there in the AFC West, and
maybe it's the opposite this year. Maybe the years that Russell starts super hot and then goes down, and maybe it's the opposite. Maybe he starts slow and he comes on.
Maybe, but you could also say that for the Arizona Cardinals. So maybe that's the same thing. So
true.
So we'll see how either one of those go as we progress through the season. But that does it, though, for another episode of the Sack City Podcast. That does it for all of our game recaps. We'll be back again live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Wait, breaking news. I can't let this go without, I don't know what it is, but I just saw Eli Apple and breaking news. So I'm putting it up. Breaking news. Tyreek Hill calls out Eli Apple ahead of Thursday Night Football's matchup. I don't know what this says. I don't know what he called him out, but there's some sort of news about Eli Apple, so I need to look it up.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Amazon Prime. I put on Amazon Prime. Oh, that's gonna be lit right there. I didn't even know that, bro. Yeah, looking forward to the
Hold on.
Looking forward to the challenge. It's gonna be fun. And I can't wait to go against Eli Apple, man. I owe you, boy. I owe you.
Oh,
I'm here. The cheetah's here.
Oh, did you hear it?
I did. Hold on here. We're gonna make this some great TV.
Ooh, get him, Tyreek.
Hold on here. Plug the show before we leave.
All right. Well, you can always find us on all of our socials. As soon as I find our social read graphic, I'm going to throw that up there. Head over to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of those wonderful social platforms. Be sure to follow us at Sack City Pod. We're dropping content pretty much daily. We're live 6 days a week. There is no other free show that has as much content as us. I guarantee it. Nobody's doing it like us. That's at our level. So be sure to follow us on all those social media platforms. Drop a like, share, comment. I will get in the chat with you. I will talk some shit with you. I will tell you why you're wrong. You can tell me why I'm wrong. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you head over to all those social platforms. Again, it's at Sack City Pod, exactly where Baby Hands Kenny Pickett is pointing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
I can't wait to go against Eli Apple, man. I owe you, boy. I owe you. I'm here. The cheetah is here. That's it.
Intel.
Hey, let's go. I can't wait till Thursday night now. I sure hope Tua plays because we know noodle arm Teddy Bridgewater can't reach that far.
Let me give you a Bailey over under here. Let me give you the Bailey over under 150 and a half receiving yards for Tyreek Hill on Thursday.
So many yards. That is so many yards. 7 catches, 120 and a TD.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll preview that game on Wednesday. You're not going to want to miss that. But again, tomorrow, Monday Night Football recap and our fantasy show. Until then, for my best friend Aaron Mukes, I am me. We will see you tomorrow.
Peace out.